I believe we're live.
I hope we're live. Hello,
Yes.
everybody. Hello, everybody. I'm not in control at the moment. This is a little bit weird. So yeah, welcome back to the Drunken Storytellers stream. We're getting these things going again. We're actually playing some games. It's quite good fun. We've had a few up so far, and we've got more coming. So today we've got something a little bit special. I think is a little bit special. But as you'll see, we've got some usual people on the screen. As I'm looking at the Twitch, we've got Fiona, who everybody should know if you've seen this before. She's
It's my
always here.
Zoom.
It's your Zoom, it's my Twitch. Ben is back with us.
Hello, everyone.
Ben's around a lot. We've got JT back with us again.
Hey, folks.
So from Vorpal Tales areas, mostly. And we've got a special guest today. We have Tanya. So yay. Everyone say hello to Tanya. If you're
Hello,
in the chat.
Tanya.
Hello,
Hello to Tanya.
So Tanya is actually the author and writer and developer of the game we're playing today. So they are here to get us seen.
Yeah. To be seeing you.
Cool. So what I will do now is I will hand over to Tanya to take us through this game.
Yeah.
What's going on with it?
Amazing. Thanks, David. Thank you for having me on. Well, basically, I wrote this game now a couple of years ago during lockdown, like a lot of people did. It's called Be Seeing You, which is a reference to the TV show The Prisoner. But also, it says on the front, a role-playing game about independence, control, freedom, and compliance. Okay, and sort of CCTV, sort of dystopian state, surveillance state commentary. Sort of, it can get into a bit of psychological drama, maybe even a little bit surreal and tense, that kind of thing. So I've been a couple months since I've actually played it, so I've got a copy of it here. I'm just going to flick through it like we would at the table. It's ideal for 4 players. Okay, it's really like its sweet spot is 4. It works well with 3 or 5 as well. Outside those bounds, there's actually a 2-player and 1-player alternate version in the appendix here, but we're going to be playing the 4-player version with me acting more as a sort of facilitator and just rulebook haver. Okay, and then hopefully from that, I'll also just do a bit of spotlight moving and a few suggestions as we go along just to help keep things moving because it's a first time playing it. So like, yeah, let's have a look what I actually wrote a couple of years ago. So it says, yeah, that's pretty much what I've just said. We're going to have a look into a couple of things just as before we get started, sort of a little bit of sort of safety mechanics, a little bit of just keeping track of how the game's going to move forward. And so what we want is there'll be some terminology as we go through this. So we're going to have a main character, the sort of like the protagonist of our story today. And rather than one of us playing this character, it's going to be a collectively controlled character who we rotate narration duties for around the group. Okay, and this character is going to be called the Prisoner. Okay, the protagonist is trapped in a strange sort of heavy surveillance microstate that will be called the Village. This sort of supposedly open prison is overseen by a sort of rotating cast of figurehead characters who will be known as the Administrator. And there'll be a sort of huge sort of cast of other NPC type characters called the Residents of the Village. So at different points in the game, each of you will have control of one of those 4 elements and it will rotate about. So And I'll be prompting you on when you take control, what that means, how we figure things out. Okay. Now, the game is collaborative. It's GM-less, technically, even with me facilitating, I'm not going to do any real heavy GMing here. So, but before we go ahead with it, I want to set the sort of like the game's concept, the aim for the game, its tone and its subject matter, just to get us all on the same page. And normally what we do, if we're playing not on a stream, but just playing ourselves, either online or offline, we'd talk about this a bit more, spend a bit more time on it. But for the sort of like benefit of the stream, like basically jump in if any of this doesn't suit or we want to modify it. But I'd say the concept here is modern day allegorical science fiction. Okay, that's where we are. Okay, high concept. The aim is that through play, we're going to drill down into what individualism means in that sort of setting and what it means to us as socially connected animals, the people. The tone for the story that I would like to see, and this is something where maybe there's a bit more input, I'd like to see it being quite claustrophobic, paranoid, maybe go into sort of surreal and maybe even conflicting narrative, like not knowing what's going on. Like there's like one description says one thing, one says another, and which is real isn't maybe clear. But also maybe some gallows humor thrown in there. Okay, like nothing slapstick or too zany or too gonzo, but like something there. And the subject matter. So subject matter is something I'd like to discuss along with like lines and veils, but also asks and like wants. What I mean here is line. For the stream, I guess I'll just go over it. Like a line is something where we will never go into that subject. So like I'm going to put a line on sexual assault, on gratuitous violence, and torture being depicted in any sort of positive light. You know, like the heroes torture someone to get information just doesn't happen in my games. I'm also going to put lines against like the supernatural and cosmic horror. So we're not going to get a surprise Cthulhu in the middle of it or anything like that. Okay, so
does that include balloons? Big, large weather balloons?
No, that would be tech, I think, rather than
It's definitely technology.
surreal technology. But yeah.
So what you're saying is Cthulhu tech is totally viable.
Watch as Tanya destroys you, Ben.
No.
The word it was done.
So
it's sci-fi, but not real sci-fi, like high fantasy, high tech.
Yeah. It's like I say, sort of like 20 years in the future. Imagine, and back to like the pre-World Wars period. Like, I guess I'd want to put a veil over any other type of torture or harm to children, animals, and I mentioned asks. These are things that maybe because we're playing together, like I'm here for the first time. Anything where you might feel like there's it'd be good just to ask. I'm thinking about interjecting the subject into this moment and to sort of almost drop a little out of character just to sort of tease what's coming up, like any sort of bigotry. I usually, with a group that I'm not familiar at comfort levels, would like to do asks with. And wants. These are things that I really want to see in the game, and that I'd like to hear your sort of asks and wants, obviously, in lines and veils. But my wants are sort of like maybe shifting perceptions of reality. Even things like maybe using gaslighting in a sort of like very much in world way, like that sort of unreliable narration sort of way. But I'd understand if what we'll always do is shift to the furthest towards it being a line that people want to take something. So I'm going to open up the floor and see if there's anything else to add to that. Fiona?
Oh, thanks. Nothing I wouldn't want to add more to the lines and veils, but I think those are absolutely fine. Asks again, that sounds good to me. What I would like to see in the game? I'd love, because I know obviously this game, when you get all the residents and stuff like that, I'd love to see a whole variety of characters. So it's not, you know, a generic replicate of the same person each time we do a resident. I'd love to see as when we create them, have a real flavor. Like we can really see this person. So when each of us puts in a resident, maybe describing it, you don't have to do a voice or an accent. I would not put that on people. So you know, be sensible and sensitive. But like adding real flavor, like this is the character that you've brought to this world. Because at some point, I think all of us would at least love to play it or bring it forward. So interesting, a community of characters would be good for me. That would be my want for this.
That's amazing, brilliant stuff. Yeah, I'm going to swing round to JT.
I'll add a veil for self-harm specifically. I'll add a veil for that, and then in terms of wants, I feel like I can't go after Fiona because that was so eloquent, and there's no way I can surpass that. So I'm just not gonna. I'm gonna pass.
Oh, JT wants my want. That's so we need lots of characters, folks. That's what we're doing here.
And,
All the NPCs.
Yeah, brilliant. That's excellent. I love it when there's a bit of like synergy in the group. Benjamin.
Okay. So for myself, I prefer that we make bigotry, especially so transphobia, homophobia, isms is my usual. Yeah, isms. I'd prefer to make those a veil. I understand the content matter that there may be a little bit of us versus them mentality, as is shown in things like The Prisoner and things like that. I prefer them not to land necessarily too strongly on real world minority groups, because that, yeah, I come to these tables to escape that, not to recontextualize it. And then once I'm all on board with the beauty of what is psychological horror, as long as no one has the issue with it. I love the sort of the gaslighting that you were referring to, Tanya, as a narrative sort of thing. I think that can work really excellently. So seeing that sort of, I'm loath to use the term sort of paranoia for this, because I think that transcends necessarily what we're trying to talk about here. But something like that certainly is an impactful and interesting story to tell. I think we're all vaguely familiar with things like the source material, but if not directly The Prisoner, then many other of these sort of psychological horrible world in which the government has this level of control over an individual. So I think that sort of story is exactly what I'm here to tell.
Things like the novel V or the graphic novel V for Vendetta, that kind of...
Yeah. Exactly so, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And finally, David.
I was going to say the same thing about isms. It's generally a thing that we do on this channel. We are not into that here.
Yeah.
So that will be our veil. I think you've covered all the other ones that I have, so that's okay. Once, I love the idea of the psychological horror, and I love the idea of the unknown horror of the, as the name says, be seeing you, of that horror that you're always aware that something may be watching you, whether it's the camera up in the corner or you've heard a noise down the street, and having that kind of play in the back of your head Whether it's real or not,
Mm,
whether you are being watched, but always having that slight anxious and nervous disposition and having that set within a tone of a story, and creating that atmosphere of something wrong, something slightly off, because you can't quite tell.
yeah.
I love those kind of ideas.
The terribly untoward.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm really on board with everything you said there. So yeah, I think that's we can always come back to these mid game, and also at any time we we can use sort of like an X card system, either pop something in chat or throw up an X on screen, or just say. Hopefully that we'll be able to interject and say, just a moment, can we just back that up? Like take a moment to talk about it. When that happens, I like to think of it as like a real moment where we can connect as a group and make the game even better for play. So yeah, hopefully not needed, but if it is, it's not a problem. It's like and also not just for things that are like really hurting us or traumatic. I'm actually quite a fan of using things like the X card or pausing the game just when we're not having as much fun. Like if there's a story element gone in and you're just thinking, oh geez, I was playing a game last week and it had this, and I'm kind of just tapped out with this kind of particular. Just let us know. It's just a game. We're creating a narrative together, and it's if the direction isn't something we're into, we can actually talk about it and put it on a better direction altogether. So yeah, that's everything on the sort of like pre-game setup side of it. So jumping into the game, I don't know about other people watching and yourselves, but a lot of games, especially in sort of like the sort of like fun indie board game sphere, have a sort of like a mechanic for who goes first. And like you ask like who's the tallest, who's the oldest, who's the youngest, that kind of thing, and then every game has its own sort of quirky take on that. And
I'm worried about where you're going to take this with this game.
I'm curious.
I've read your book, Tanya, so I know. So
yeah. So I want to say up front that nobody has to share any details on this. It's only if we're comfortable. Okay, you can even just give a time or make something up. Okay, we're only playing a game. It doesn't have to even be real. You can lie. We want at this point to determine, to figure out who goes first in a sort of series of going round narrative things, is determine who was most recently harassed or oppressed by the state.
Ooh.
And this could be anything. This could be like you've had a medical appointment you've been trying to get to and it's been bumped back. You've had problems with getting your benefits. You got stopped by a police officer. There was some sort of paperwork that got in the way. How recently was that? You don't have to give details. It could have been minutes ago. Like
Wednesday.
There we go.
Friday.
You
said paperwork, and I'm just like, I live in Germany. Paperwork everywhere, bureaucracy everywhere.
Okay.
I had to go and request my police background check to say that I'm a nice, safe person and I've not done anything wrong and I'm legally okay to work in Germany on Friday.
How much did you pay them for that falsehood?
13 euros.
Okay, so have we got any advance on Friday?
Yesterday.
I have nothing on this. I've not been out of the house, so I've not experienced any usual stuff. So I've been all right.
Hang on a minute. Both Fiona and Ben, you still live in the UK, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Doesn't that just count?
I mean, in that regard, technically today, whilst I was on the train, so yeah, sure.
But yeah, I can't advance on either of those. I'll pass it to JT if you've got any more on that yourself.
Not more recent than that, no.
David, you'll be the first in this. We're going to do a go round. Okay. Because I can't see the stream directly, my sort of clockwise on the screen goes David, Benjamin, JT, Fiona.
Mhm.
Is that all
No,
good?
no. I mean, on the,
Oh,
sorry,
on the-
on the screen.
okay.
So on the screen, if you're going
Uh-huh.
clockwise, it goes
Yeah.
David, JT, Ben, and then myself.
Okay, we'll do it according to the stream,
Okay.
because that way people watching will be okay, and we'll just figure it out. I'm sure this this can't go wrong at all.
We'll keep an eye on it. That's fine.
Okay, thanks, Fiona. So David, I'm going to ask a question, and this question I would like you to answer about yourself, you, the real person.
Okay.
Okay. What we will then do is we'll use your answer. That answer will become true of the prisoner, and we'll use that to give a very short vignette about a specific thing related to the fact you've revealed. Okay.
Okay.
So the question is, what style or look or fashion would you want to perfect? If you could just like have unlimited resources, like you could do we're in culture level of you could do anything with yourself and your body and your style and your fashion. What would it has to fit within a sort of like modern day or within 20 years of now sort of ability.
So, it's I have a varying fashion sense, and it kind of changes on a day-to-day basis. Not varying, but I go from like punk metal to goth to all sorts of things. At the moment, though, I think because it's just come out on TV, and I was obsessed with this when it came out in the 90s, and the actor who is playing Morpheus is
I just watched it. Sorry.
I want to perfect Morpheus, the dreamer. I want to have that look.
No spoilers.
I'm person in a long black
yeah.
coat with hair.
Neil Gaiman.
Neil
but
Gaiman.
in a-
Yeah,
Neil Gaiman.
Neil Gaiman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I
that's
would say-
a goth new
I was-
romantic cross.
Perfect.
Yeah. I was scared about it. I seen the episode 1, and there's nothing to worry about, is all I will say. And the actor is hot.
Yeah.
Really, really hot.
I just Googled it. Oh my God. Yes.
We've lost JT. No longer on the stream.
No, we're Google image search here.
Oh yeah. There's a lot on show.
So what
and
we'll do, we've got the handout here, and so if David, if you could make a sticky note.
You're asking me to do tech things.
Okay. I could do it if need be.
No, sticky note.
And then just put like goth / new romantic and pop it at the
Neil
side
Gaiman.
of the Neil Gaiman. Yeah. Neil Gaiman as he'd imagine himself in a comic book.
Yes. And we're all there going, this is fine.
So yeah, this is
not ego. We want this as well.
Why are people trying to talk to me on Teams? Go away, Teams. Why do I have Teams?
It's the rest of the endless.
Why do you have Teams? Why do you have Teams open on a weekend?
I don't. It just opened up automatically by itself. I'm worried.
Ooh, this is not a dream.
That's
it's a
game. Put it
nightmare.
into the game. Put it into the
Anya, tell me what
game.
have you
Put it
done?
into the game.
Teams will be opening up at random
No.
intervals.
Oh.
There may be a paperclip telling you what you can do.
No, we
Oh,
can't
no.
bring Clippy into this. Clippy's being used too recently in D&D.
Yeah. Oh, and also a little too comic, but yeah, maybe could go a bit.
I'm
Black
sorry,
Mirror.
I see you're trying to overthrow the authoritarian government. Can I help you with that?
It is a template.
Ha!
Oh, sorry, Tanya. Obviously, you've not been on a stream with. You've probably not seen much of our streams before. There's a lot of dark comedy or just surreal comedy that goes on. You can blame Fiona for most of that.
I just
For
sat
being
here.
the improv, happiest go luckiest character you'll ever want in the darkest horrible settings you'll ever get.
Nice.
So you've been warned now.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we're going to use this now. The prisoner, because it's a generic character, we're all taking control of. We're never going to refer to their gender at all. That's just kind of left off screen. And we kind of just we never refer to their name directly or anything to identifying about them. Okay, so but with that in mind, David, I'd like you to give a very short vignette about the prisoner. Like, how would they dramatically burst in as an office with a middle-aged white cis male in a suit, sat behind a desk, and this prisoner, this sort of like dreamer-esque character, is how, like, describe them bursting in. Like, what does it look like?
It's very overly done. I imagine the office has double doors.
Okay.
And they just walk through the middle of the double doors, the heads slightly facing down. So they swing the doors out with their arms, pushing them both out. The coat from the waist flares out, and a gust of wind kind of blows the paper off the table as this kind of entity, it's almost like a feeling, also enters the room with them, kind of an oppressive feeling.
Nice.
It's kind of how I would see this happening.
Amazing. Yeah, perfect. That's perfection. Okay. I've lost track already. Who have we got next?
Next with JT.
JT.
Okay. So JT, again, you as a person, what personality trait always gets JT in trouble?
Oh boy. Empathy to the point of hurting myself, like helping others to the point of not taking care of myself.
Okay.
I don't know. Someone can describe that more eloquently, perhaps.
An empath.
Oh, putting yourself out too much, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if you could pop that on the sort of little sticky notes beside our handout, yeah, a Jamboard thing. And then let me know when you're done. Give you your prompt for your vignette. There's actually 5 of these, even though we've got 4 of you playing. I might jump in and just add one just to keep the 5 up. Yeah.
So I've gone down the rabbit hole of looking at pictures of Morpheus as well.
Like, what you need to do now is get someone to put your face, like, superimpose it on every video. Takes off the mask.
Alrighty. I wrote it down.
Got it.
Okay, amazing. So using that sort of personality trait, describe how that same trait in the prisoner riles the person sat at the desk. It like gets their back up. It puts them sort of in a foul mood in some way, or annoys them.
I'm annoying an administrator as the prisoner.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So say that that the prisoner has been sort of like taking other people's I guess like consequences onto themselves by like taking, because they don't want other people in the community to feel the wrath of the administration, and has been sort of like taking the blame for things other people have done to their detriment.
So the administrator is like saying stuff like maybe shaking some papers, that picking up after they've blown about, saying, "You're taking this on too much. You've done too much yourself." Kind of like, why are you helping all these people? And slamming it down, and just sort of that kind of level of frustration.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. Oh, high five to that. Yeah, totally. Okay. Next on our go round.
Ben.
Okay, Ben. Which part of yourself would you never give up, no matter what? So, what about yourself would you never give up? Worn down to the very last.
Oh God. Ask the paranoid anxious what they'd never change about themselves. This is going to take you forever. My let's go with my drive.
Okay. So you've got your drive underneath that. And we'll add that onto the sort of play aid. And what the vignette for this will be is that we'll use this to describe why this threatened the sort of like the status quo, and it leads why the prisoner is going to slam down a letter of resignation on the desk. Now, we're not going to state what they're resigning from or like the actual sort of like circumstances, but like what threatened that drive? Like, how do you feel threatened? How's the prisoner behaving, and why are they throwing down this resignation?
I think for all the dramatic entrance and the sort of the consequences of swirling paper and outrage administration, I think it's more cool self-righteousness. The more emotion the administrator is showing, the less that our Morpheus is. Because Morpheus is never riled until they are. And I think it's same for our prisoner. They are never riled until they are. So I think it's just a cool sliding of the letter across the desk and just tapping it. It's all in there.
Badass.
I really love this sort of duality of what just happened there. That sort of like big explosive entry and then this really cold pushing across. Oh, that's so nice. I'll ask. I'll go in next because this is one of the sort of like, I don't know what order it is on the screen, and I'm just following my own little logic here. So it says, what does your ideal home look like? And I'm going to say my ideal home is I'm going to say it's sort of a nice very very sort of modern urban sort of townhouse. It's got it's very sort of like but with very maximalist design inside. It's not like one of these minimalist Apple style like cold collect. It's got like really really vibrant colors, really deep colors around it, rich velvet curtains. It's maybe got like it's sandstone on the outside. It's like got really fine cotton sheets. It's all really lovely and lush and warm and cozy. So
I've already done it.
Still in my heart.
oh, amazing!
You're still in my heart.
Yeah, sounds amazing.
So
You had me at velvet curtains.
So I'm going to say what using that. I'm going to describe the prisoner going back to their home and what they're doing to take their life in a new direction from home. So we're going to sort of like say that the letter was tapped, walks out. The next part of this, we see them walking in just up this sort of like path outside, up this pavement and into the home, and they're sort of like they go in and it's sort of like their study room, and there's like a nice wooden desk. It's like got a roller top, and they open it up, and they're sort of like pulling down some books, which maybe a couple of philosophy books and a couple of sort of like maybe an atlas and some other ideas, and they're sort of getting those out and they're starting to open them up and put like lovely paperweights down on them, and they sort of like get out some a small sort of like they get out their tablet and they start sort of making some plans using that. And then Fiona, what do you hate most about authority figures?
Oh, right. Hang on. To narrow it down. I think the thing I hate the most for me is it's when as I'm sure everyone here has had it at some point, when you don't have the exact paperwork or credentials, but because of the way the forms are, whatever you have isn't enough. Like, for example, I was doing a helping with some visa application today, and I had to give so much information, so much of myself, but because it has to be certain things, we had to be like making up some of the stuff for it. It has to be estimates, and we know people are going to come back to us going, "Oh, this is not good enough." When you know you can talk, if you talk to someone and they can help you with it, but it's all forms. So maybe the thing I hate is this idea of if it is what the system says, there is no chance to deviate around it. No matter who you are, you might have the correct information, but if you don't know how to input it, then there's no hope for you.
Would you say it's dogmatic bureaucracy?
100%.
Okay.
Yes.
So
I feel your pain, Fiona.
I
I
think
know
we've
your
all
pain
been
so
there.
well.
So the sort of vignette then, okay, is to describe how this is embodied by an odd-looking agent of the village who goes on to cause the prisoner to fall unconscious for some reason. So this sort of like bureaucratic, like rigid sort of trait is embodied by someone. So if you need.
Okay. So and this person, you said they cause in some way for the prisoner to become unconscious, to be. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I'm just.
Is
it
blackout?
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. Okay, so maybe we take that scene of the prisoner putting down the paperweights, like looking at the stuff, maybe standing up, being surrounded by the books, and the camera sort of moves out down to the street where there's a very stereotypical excess light looking down, and looking up is a figure in again interestingly maybe like it is a vibrant color, but it's because it just the way it sort of stands out, but it's just a uniform color of red. They're wearing a red sort of blazer top, maybe a skirt. Everything is prim and proper and sort of like exact. Like the nails are exact, the hair is exact. Everything is like as if made to measure, this person, this sort of looking up, sort of like looking maybe down at some sort of handheld device, scrolling a little bit, and then just maybe confirming as people rush past them to go up towards where the prison.
Oh. And then
Back out. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay, so that's our introduction. That's the sort of like the sort of establishing our prisoner character. Okay, well, I'll just run over those traits. We've got this sort of goth Neil Gaiman, empathy to the point of self-sabotage, this drive and self-drive. They've got this beautiful urban townhouse with vibrant colors, and they hate dogmatic administration. So that's we're going to be taking turns with this character and all have a little bit of an interpretation on it. And it's okay, especially given some of the asks we had, it's okay for that to differ between us. People change over time. So the next sort of segment is where we sort of cut to the prisoner waking up. Okay, so the prisoner wakes up. They think they're in their home. They maybe not very aware of what's happened in the past, so they're trying to find their bearings until they open up the curtains and find themselves looking out on a completely different landscape. The street outside is gone. And we're going to explore this new locale, this village they found themselves in. So what I'd like to do, Fiona, you were the person to go last. Mm-hmm. So back round to yourself, David. You're going to be the prisoner here. JT, you're going to be the administrator. Oh, am I right? Let me have a look.
Was it the village?
Prisoner, the village, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Then it's the administrator for Ben. And Fiona, you get to be the residents to start. Okay. So what we're going to do is have JT, you open the scene by having a new character known as the administrator introduced. What I'd like you to do for this administrator is introduce them with how they sort of look, and sorry, let me get the exact thing here because I'm
Apologies. Wait.
JT
I'm
is the
villager.
village.
Oh, JT is the village.
It's,
I got
I'm
it
the
wrong.
administrator.
I got it wrong to start with, and I got it wrong a second time. Yeah, thanks. That's why I was like getting myself in it as. Thank you, Ben. Ben, with the administrator.
Yep.
I'd like you get to create like their look and demeanor, okay, for this whole segment coming up. So their style, their fashion, how they appear, their sort of like temperament, all that sort of thing. Okay. Now, just so you're aware, you've been charged by control, off-screen control, maintaining order in the village. You report to them, and your overt goal is to learn why the prisoner resigned, with the covert goal of making them conform and rehabilitating them into a functioning member of your little society. Now, you'll have final say over the narration of the character of the administrator during the segment until we all swap. Okay. Now, JT, as the village, what we're going to do is there's going to be a tour of the village coming up. And you're going to be the first one to introduce a new location outside of the home. Okay. And so you get to have carte blanche on that. You get to add, like, give it a name, and like its style of or aesthetic, the overt purpose for the location. So, like, what does it appear? Is it a shop? Is it an administration building? Is it a farm? Is it a street? Whatever. You get to make that, but then you also get to add something uncanny to the location. Okay. So usually, what we'll do is we'll do a quick intro between the prisoner and the administrator. You'll then introduce. They'll then go on a tour, and you'll introduce the first location. And Fiona, that leaves you introducing the first resident that they meet at this location. And we'll take a note of the location and the resident and pop them on our sort of group screen so that we can all see them for future, because we want to like be bringing these locations back and bringing these characters back as our sort of touchstones. So yeah, I guess opening up how's the prisoners looking out the window. They're looking out on this whole new landscape, and how does the administrator approach this new administrator, this new character?
So I think as the prisoner sort of opens the window, they're at the edge of this sort of their new home is a hedge that is slowly being snipped with a pair of secateurs. And as it's going along, each time it snips, you still can't see the person's head. Just so you see snip, and then the person's moved, and it's still snipping across until they get to the very edge, and they snip the last bit, and it falls away, and there's just a garden. Sort of a flat peat cap, a sort of burgundy and plaid sort of almost like tweed jacket cut, but much rougher, functional. They've got sort of as they sort of open up the gate and begin to walk down the path towards the little property, you can see that they've got rough and ready sort of work trousers, beautiful burgundy wellies that are spattered with mud, and just a very sort of jovial full face, and they just sort of walk up and just knock on the door. Sacateur's now firmly underneath one arm, handles pointing outwards towards the prisoner's front door.
David, how does the prisoner react there?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Oh, how does the prisoner react to that? Sorry, David.
That's okay. Curiosity, just watching this happen through the window and knowing that this person has seen them at the window and I've opened the window, but they've still gone to the front door. I'm just kind of like a little bit bemused as to why they've not come to speak to me here and they've knocked on the door. So I slowly walk to the door, unlock it, take off the keychain slowly. Everything's very methodical, very purposeful in the actions. Twist the door handle, open the door, kind of maybe like a third of the way open, and just look out at them and tilt my head as if like physically saying, not actually saying, but kind of within the motions of the body is like, yes.
Good morning. Trust you
Great.
slept well. I
Mm,
noticed your head has got a little long. You might want to keep on that in the future. But don't worry, you can borrow these and sort of put them down on the inside of the door.
you just kind of stare at them, look back at you, and who are you?
I'm the gardener.
And why should I watch the hedge?
I'm
Isn't that your job?
no. I tend to everything within the garden.
The hedge.
You're thinking too micro. You need to think more macro.
So, what is this garden that you speak of then, my
Oh my.
companion?
What a day. You are utterly confused, aren't you?
Ah, there's a little bit of a rubbing the temples.
Go on. Out you come.
The sun, the lack of coffee.
Coffee.
There's a
Foul stuff. Water does the world of good for you. Water and an apple provide you the same amount of energy as a cup of coffee. Have you had your apple for the day?
Does it look like I've had my apple for the day?
Don't worry. I always bring a spare, and unzips one of the sort of pockets on this work coat and brings out a immaculately polished apple.
What color?
Oh, a crisp green. Verdant.
Verdant green. I take it and just drop it in a pocket.
Oh, no, don't worry. No need to wait on me. You should eat that now.
For later. The headache and the sugar rush. I don't want to.
No, you should eat it now.
No, I don't think I shall.
Very well. Noted.
So, would you? I will eat it actually if you show me this garden that you speak of.
Dressed like that?
Better than dressed like you.
Well, I say.
This is comfortable, elegant, smart, and sophisticated. Suitable
Comfortable.
for meeting new people.
But
Unlike
not the weather. As the gardener says that, it just begins to drizzle slightly.
hand comes out of it. You see, as raindrops splash into their pale hand. Lead the way, sir.
Well, on we go then.
So JT, where let's sort of wander off on to a new location. And also everyone, feel free to make suggestions on one another's little domains. Like don't have to be totally hemmed in if you come up with something really that you want to add in. It isn't like you can't.
So the two of them, it's a short walk, cobblestone street, and a surprisingly large library for what doesn't seem to be that large of a city. Old and Baroque. As they enter the library, it looks sort of relatively modern, maybe late 20th century. There's a few people milling about, as you might find in any library. Though if you were to look, you would find, all the different various styles of books and bound in different ways and everything, but all of the books are empty. Like, the pages are empty. There's nothing on any pages of any of the books in this library.
Amazing. So we've got the library, it's Baroque and ornate. It's overt purpose is meant to be a library, but its uncanny thing is these empty books. Okay.
I've got the perfect picture for this. So I'm going to send it through in the Discord.
Okay.
It's kind of what I'm imagining this looks like now. If I can work out how to send a photo.
And I'll say, like, David, Ben, just feel free to role play in that, and Fiona, just feel free at any point you've got an NPC. It could be right now or at any point during a little sort of introduction to this place. It's a whistle stop tour, but bring in an NPC, and when you do that, they'll have an assigned number that you give them, or a role that they at least seem to fulfill or be part of, their look and their demeanor.
As the administrator takes me into this building and shows me the library, and is probably prattling on, I imagine, then.
I think very much it's a situation of just walking briskly and just being like, Main Street.
Walk into the library, but as we're seeing these library books, because of who I am and thinking of the study back home, in the real home where I've started to plan out this thing, I start to run my hands along the books and notice that even though they look leather bound and old and used, they feel plastic. So I pull one out and open it up.
Chaucer. Very good.
Very detailed work. Do you
Complete works.
Is there a librarian around? Maybe if we want to bring in a librarian. If not, you can have some busybody come in and ignore.
No, I at this point, through the gap of the book you've just removed, there is a face, and you see 239, a person who is also dressed in a very similar style to the gardener, in the sense that there's some tweed, maybe some glasses per se, long hair that's been done up in a very tight, tidy bun, and it's sort of maybe a bit startled at first because of the way you sort of just took a book out, and sort of you hear them sort of like little patter of feet as they sort of go round the corner to come round, and they take the book back from you.
On cue, of course.
No, I'm not a librarian. I am the archivist. And it puts the thing back out. So you've got to organise it by discipline, not subject.
How do you organise books that don't say anything?
Well, of course they say
They
everything.
say loads of things.
I see. How
Are
long
you
have you
really-
worked here?
Sorry, say that
my
again,
dear.
David.
How long have you worked here, my dear?
I've always dreamed of working like this. You see, books have the most amazing thing. You can see, and this person will start pulling off different books now, all around the library, and like opening it up, and it's still the same thing: plastic pages, nothing in it. You could have whole worlds, and you could just create them, and it's just a way to inspire. And then we'll start.
Have you had your apple this morning?
Puts the books slowly to one side, goes into their pocket, pulls out a verdant green apple, and no, not yet, but thank you, and cleans it on their skirt.
Inspire can be such an ugly word.
Yes, of course. Just well, it's nice to have the information here, and we'll take a massive bite of the apple. Eyes locked with the gardener.
Isn't that better?
It's the apple.
You asked about the garden. This is my
Yes.
favourite spot to show the garden off.
Are there any books on the garden? I would love to read more about it. It seems very interesting.
Of course. Of course there are books about the garden.
Many books.
Every book here is about the garden.
Organized by discipline, not subject.
Mm.
The best way to show the garden, though, I find, is to look to the heavens. Just on the ceiling, there's a great big fresco of sort of like
Does JT, because JT's the building, does JT do
No,
anything?
I'm happy to let people keep going and bring ideas in. I'm super flexible on that. Continue, Ben, please.
just a great big fresco of the sort of coastline city that we're on. The garden stretches all the way from that point all the way to that point. You
Rather sarcastically, in a completely out of tone character, the prisoner goes, so from that wall to that wall is the garden. So this building is the garden. Bit of a small garden you've got there. And then remembers who they are and goes back into the kind of
it's not about the size of the land. It's about what you plant there. And after all, what fertile fields small minds make. Staring at the prisoner the entire time.
Probably the good point
you
to
speak
move.
wisely, my friend. Pulls out the apple and just kind of starts to polish it and just play with it in their hands, but not actually taking a bite yet, but having that tactile interaction with an apple.
Fiona, did
You said something there, Tanya?
As you say, Tanya.
Oh, I was just saying this is probably a good place to move to our next location. And so this will be the first time we're swapping roles. Okay. So David, you were the prisoner, but that's going to move on to JT. JT was the village. That's moving to Ben. Ben, you were the administrator. The same administrator is going to be played by Fiona. And Fiona, you were doing the residence. That now goes to yourself, David.
Cool.
Okay. So with JT, you've passed to Ben. So Ben as the village. What is this new location we are going to come across?
I think after such a sort of a deliberate misconstruction of being deliberately misconstrued as from point to point, I think it is this long winding path, thick sort of shrub and salt marsh sort of reed on either side, this dirt path that leads up this hill from which you can see the entirety of the garden, this sort of salt strewn and coastal road that leads up to this cliff at the top of it.
So the location, I'm going to call it maybe Saltmarsh Hill.
Mhm.
That's but yeah, for simplicity. So is there? What's its overt purpose? To be an observation point across,
To look upon the garden.
to look upon the garden. I'll put that down. The garden. Okay. Feel free. You don't have to introduce it now, by the way. But there's something uncanny about the location, or something not quite right. So
You
and-
can't see the horizon.
Ooh.
Despite being taller than every point, there's just roiling grey cloud that sort of fills the horizon line and brings sort of dull shade and shadow to anything that is underneath it, to the point at which it sort of fades off into darkness rather than being defined. Impossibly.
Okay, that is creepy. So we've got that. Remember, NPC can be added at any time, a new resident, and obviously we have a new person playing the prisoner and the administrator. So going up this path, or any point along that journey, or on the hill crest itself, feel free to, whoever wants to open that, feel free to go with it.
If he's going to say anything. The gardener has swiftly moved the prisoner from the sort of library setting, and is doing that same thing, going, second high street, shopping centre. You know, there's like but random words at this point, and just doing it in that same sort of tone, maneuvering them go up this hill essentially. And even when they're on this track, it's still saying stuff like the farm. You know, all that's literally words at this point, but they don't connect.
So yeah, so where we're going? Just little hike up the hill.
Oh,
Got plans for the day?
well, you'll see the garden at this point. It's so wonderful, and you get to appreciate it.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait.
No, not many people can.
Oh, that's an interesting set of words in that order.
You are funny.
Oh, you have no idea.
I don't. I'd like to know more.
I don't know you well enough yet. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Oh,
I just feel
course.
like if we're gonna, spend some time together, I should know who you are, a little bit more about you.
Of course. Well, I am the gardener. I make sure that all the garden, as far as we can see, is in order. And the hedge, your hedge, well, I just helped you out there. That is a freebie. Everyone gets one.
Oh, so what? Like, if I don't, trim the hedge, then
Oh,
you're not gonna help me out anymore? Is that'll be a problem?
well, you could wait and see, but most people don't.
So, like, I like we're passing the farm. Like,
We can't see I think, like as Ben described, you don't see anything other than this way up to this point. I'm randomly just saying like,
oh,
okay.
okay.
So I'm just doing it as we're going, but you can't see anything.
Gotcha. Okay. I was thinking we weren't there yet, so we were.
Yeah, we're still carrying on. Oh, the bus stop.
So I'm seeing. So there's nothing though. No people. No bus stop. You're just pointing at mist. Basically, is that how you're visualizing it? Sorry, I didn't want to make sure we're on the same page visually.
You can bring people in, JT. You don't have
I'm
to
the
ask me.
prisoner.
No, I know.
Yeah. I will say at this point then, if you're walking through if you're walking through what we call it, the salt flats, the salt marsh.
Salt marsh.
Salt marsh. As you are walking up this one defined path, there is an old lady, I will say, stood a few feet into the marsh, the black mud caking her legs. She's got like the old skirt. She's hiked it up and kind of tucked it in, so you can just see her knees, and then below that her legs are just kind of covered in black mud as she's going through that, picking out little things and throwing them into a little bucket in the under her arm, or a little basket, like a little wicker basket, as if she's like crabbing or something. But you can't see what she's picking up. She hears you two having this conversation. She turns around and says, "Oh, hello there, hello there. Oh, see, we've got a new person here. You look a very austere." And we'll call this one number 32.
Good morning, 32. Have you had your apple today?
Oh, I've had my apple. I love my morning apple. It's such a vibrant way to start the day, shall we? It gives you a good kick to get out and get going.
Oh. It is as we say.
You know what I mean?
Well, an apple a day keeps the doctor away.
How do you think I got so old?
Oh, hi. Hi. Yeah. I guess I'm new. So, nice to meet you. Like, do you need any help? I just, it seems you're out here by yourself. You need any help?
Oh no, this all right. I'm all good. This is my job. I'm all good doing this. I like being out here by myself. It gives me time to think and contemplate things. Oh yes, no, I'm okay. I'm picking up the food for this evening. Did you just see her put her hand in and pick up just what looks like a stone and throw it into the basket?
Yeah, I was going to say there's definitely something in the basket that is like just lots of little rocks, all different shapes and stuff. Yeah.
I think the other thing as well is that as 32's picking things out of it, occasionally they move into the bit that you can't see, that's not defined, that's this grey, and sort of like, so the hand goes in, they come out, and they get the more salt water and another, in the bucket.
She doesn't know what she's doing. She's literally just putting her hand in, grabbing something, and dropping it in. It's just it's an almost automatic motion.
Well, that will
Sometimes
be a
it's
fine feast.
Oh, if you don't mind, I haven't eaten yet today. Could I try one?
You've got an apple. I gave you an apple.
Oh yeah, I wasn't talking to you, Mr. Gardner. Mr. Gardner,
No. I would recommend the apple. Do try the apple. They are the best source of nutrition.
Just not a fruit person,
Oh, well, that's a shame. But we would insist. An apple a day keeps the doctor.
I would once say it's part of the process that goes on here. If you don't eat the apple, you'll just get eat the apple in the ear from our friend here. So
yeah, I'm starting to learn that. It's still pretty new, but I'm starting to put that together. Just not an apple person. Surely something else. Like, can we head back? Like,
oh no, we're not
bistro,
garden yet.
I almost want to suggest.
Oh, you go to see the garden. If you keep heading up, you'll see the wonderful garden. Maybe you can sit around and tell the gardener kind of where you came from and kind of what happened and why you're here. I'm sure the gardener would love to hear all those stories. Sure, you've got some wonderful, with clothes like that, you've got some wonderful stories to tell.
Yeah.
I almost want the old lady to lean in close at this point to the prisoner and say, the prevention's better than the cure.
Very much. As maybe the gardener has looked away over at something, she quickly turns around and whispers into the ear.
Oh,
Very
lovely.
much so.
Well, we must be going. Oh, but here, and the gardener will go into their other pocket and bring out an orange for your hard work for the feast. Be sure to eat it all up.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And you see her start to open the orange, but that's as much as you see. You don't see anything else. The orange then starts to become this black, muddy mess in all her hands, and it may or may not disappear.
That's right. Eat it all up. Even the white bits.
Oh, it's very nice.
Brian's good for you. Anyway, Shall we?
After
Where-
you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I think this is a good place. We'll all rotate our roles again.
okay.
So that means Ben, you were the village. Okay, so that will move on to Fiona.
Yep.
Fiona, you were the gardener, so
Mhm.
that will move to David. David, you were the.
I like
the
how we've
resident.
just changed it from administrator to gardener. Just
Yeah.
Strong enough character.
Yeah. Goes like let's go lean into it. We'll see how long the gardener lasts.
Forever.
Whatever. And yeah, so that means okay, I've just lost track of the thing I was just doing.
I think I become the resident.
Yeah, that's it.
no.
Yep, no, that's right.
Yeah,
Ben
yes,
is
yeah.
the resident. I am the village.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yep.
In person, just for folks who the set, if you buy it at your local friendly local game store, where it is available to be ordered.
Yes. You can do that.
Or downloadable online. There's
A link in the chat.
but your friendly local game store in the UK can also order it from their main distributors, Spiral Galaxy.
Hey, Spiral.
Yeah. So you get a nice little set of handouts that you pass around the table as you play. Like, so it's a lot easier just to pass it in a circle. And you don't have to put up with a live stream that's got a different order from the Zoom. It's all a bit confusing. So,
Yeah. I think JT is now the resident and
Yeah.
Ben is the prisoner.
Yep, that's what
Okay.
I thought too, because we're moving
'Cause
backwards.
JT was just the prisoner and we didn't
Yeah.
move the role. So
Now that's it. Sorry, so I'm the prisoner this time.
yeah. Okay, so I guess our new village, if you would like to
Sure.
introduce a scene.
Sure. Okay, so carrying on up this salt marsh hill, get to sort of a big flat top. But again, as we've discussed, you can't really see the horizon, and it just becomes incredibly flat. And there's paving stones, and it sort of becomes like a courtyard. And there's lots of little benches, maybe a fountain in the middle, and you can hear the sound of like general park noises, like people laughing. But it feels like if you listen closely enough, as you sort of walk into a bench or anything like that and sitting down, the sound almost is like it's looped slightly, that slight little distortion, and you're not entirely sure where the noises are coming from. There's not like a distinctive like this is where a group of people are talking, this is where children are running past playing football, etc. The sort of uncanny thing is that there is this audio noise that has been played slightly on a loop. Not entirely sure where the noise is coming out of. It's courtyard.
Almost as if it's rotating through different speakers.
Yeah. Can I ask, is it open or is it gated or fenced or walled, or I'm just trying to imagine the.
Absolutely. I would say there is definitely like a wall, but it's not like super high. Everything is prim and proper. So there is a small wall, but you could easily step out of it. It's definitely more for display than security, like keeping people in like that. But everything is like, imagine that paving stone, like sort of white paving stone, S type thing. There's no blade of grass anywhere.
as the gardener walks up to this area, again, I'm going with flourishes today. I'm feeling very flourishy. There's a small gate that you go through to enter it, and it has a post which is quite high enough to down. Walks in, grabs hold of the post, swings around it, and swings onto the wall, and walks down the wall and goes to the prisoner. How do you like the view of the garden? Isn't it such a wonderful, wonderful area? I knew you would like it. Maybe it's good enough to inspire, and the walk has maybe made you a little bit hungry. Have a wander round, enjoy the sights, enjoy the food, enjoy the company. This is the garden, and it is amazing. And it is your home.
Because that's fact.
Oh, yes, yes. We are most glad to have you here. Can you not hear the joy of the people around you? Happy to see a new member of the garden.
Hmm. Rather little greenery for a garden.
Ah, you've got to use your imagination. Look beyond the wall. Look beyond what is here. Look down. Look out. Look up. Look down. Look into the fountain. It is all here.
Sounds dangerously like inspiring, though.
Ah, there's nothing inspiring here. It is all just here. It is.
Hmm.
I suggest you do wander, explore, learn, become. Have an orange, and he throws a pear at you.
Mm.
I think sort of catch it as it's coming. I get the impression that thrown at, it's not that underarm kind thing.
No.
It's thrown at, as in
Yeah, it's
react
taken out
or
and
get
just, like,
hit.
Almost like a baseball pitch at
Yeah.
your head, but not done with aggression. Still done with a smile and
Yeah.
a joyful kind of way, but with a force.
Yeah,
behind
the
it.
action does not match the intensity on the face.
No,
I like
almost a circus-like attitude into what's
Hmm.
happening now.
Can you?
I'm really liking the escalation that's gone on through each of these scenes. This feels like it's just becoming more sinister. Like this administrator of a gardener just starting off as sort of do this, then no, do this, and then
Do
Like-
this.
Can you really eat? Can you just eat? I think is getting to the point now.
mm,
I guess it would keep the doctor away.
Oh, it may keep the doctor away. It may not. It may loosen some tongues. It
The apple
may-
would be better for that, then, wouldn't it? And I'll put the pear away into one of the voluminous pockets and pull out the apple from earlier, and just sort of eyes on the garden the entire time. Just take a bite.
Isn't it sweet? Isn't it vibrant? Isn't it delicious? Does it not want to make you
It's
open
just
up?
on the palate.
I think when the prisoner bites into the apple, that crunch, you can hear it all throughout the courtyard, so to speak. The sounds have stopped momentarily, and then they can.
Yeah, reverberating almost.
Yeah.
I think it's more than eating. You can just see it in sort of the left cheek. It's just there.
got a resident that's maybe coming into this scene at all.
I apologize. My dog was barking very loud. So what exactly is happening? I do have a resident ready to come in though. But I didn't hear what was going on up into this. So I'm just gonna bring it in and we'll play it out.
Go with it.
College looks like maybe like a college student is walking in. They're just known as the student. That's how their greet is. They walk up, but they have like a purple hoodie and jeans on, and the purple hoodie has the hood up. Can't see their face, which is particularly kind of weird because it is like daylight out, so you would see something, but like for some reason you just can't see their face. And they are holding a basket of apples. And just sort of like, hey everybody.
Oh, hi there, student. Welcome. It's nice to see you enjoying the garden. Are you having a good day?
Oh, of course. I love the garden. I love picking apples in the garden. I love eating apples. I love sharing my love of apples with everybody in the village.
They are the best fruit that we have here. They give such energy and joy to us all, don't they?
Yes, I mean, I don't tell anyone, but I like to eat like several apples every day.
Oh, you are a good student. You are a good person. Thank
I
you.
I
very much.
really like having straight A's. Like it's been a thing. Like just it's important to me to keep my grades up.
I do tend to them well so that people do enjoy them. I'm happy to hear that there are people who enjoy the apples as he stares in kind of almost a maniacal way now at the prisoner, who is quite clearly just sat there with half an apple still in their cheek.
Well, a bite of it in the
Yeah,
cheek anyway. Yeah.
and just not eating it.
It's quite
It's like-
sour as well. Feel that acidic sort of like
Mm.
little bit. Not
Tart.
it's not burning or anything. It's not. It doesn't feel unusual, but you can just really sense it, feel it against.
Student. So I have a new lesson for you today. I have a new lesson for you. We have a new person here.
Oh,
have a
hi.
new-
Hi.
Yeah, we have a
Welcome.
new welcome them in. Welcome in. We have a lesson to learn today. It's a greeting people and learning about people. So what I would like you to do, they seem a little bit standoffish, I think is the word we shall use. Maybe you can break that facade and learn a little bit about them and where they've come from. Maybe why they might be here. Maybe you can
Oh,
just
yeah, of course.
yeah. I think
Just
that would be a fun. That's a good lesson for today. Learning how to learn about people.
absolutely. So yeah, I'm the
He
student.
down,
And,
takes out an apple, and then starts eating it.
yeah, and so the student too, like again, weird facing, but like the student also just starts eating an apple, is sort of like talking with their mouth full, but you don't actually see that. You just sort of hear the sort of the talking and just goes on like I almost can't like do it as the player, but like sort of like mumbling, not mumbling, but like talking nonsense and sort of like how great school is and why having grades is important, having good grades is important, and the more that the more you share about yourself and why you're here will like give you good grades, and good grades is just the most important thing in the world. I fortunately I feel like I can't like role play that exactly very well off the cuff, but that's what I'm going for.
I'm sure that you also require a decent library to inspire good grades.
Oh, I spent
Research.
so much time in the library, all the books, all the learning. There's just, there's the history of everything and the philosophy and the science. And they just keep going on again. They're just like saying words. They're not saying what kind of science. They're just saying science, not what
Buzzword
kind of
style.
history. Yeah, like buzzwords, just like things that you might like maybe like a algorithm would pick up on, following college students on Twitter or something.
But it's ever so often it's like a wrong ones. It's like blue sky thinking, pushing the envelope.
It's,
Stuff that students would never ever say.
yeah, JT, it feels like the tag cloud, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
RateMyProfessor.com, #grad school. Like,
Can you tell me what it is that you've learned?
oh yeah, I've learned so much. And then they like take a moment, like they don't know how to answer, and they're gonna actually like pull out note cards, like they've been studying for some kind of test, and then they start like saying actual things again, like really let's say it's like math, so it's like really like high level like mathematics, as if they're literally just reading off note cards though, as if they're studying for a test. And again, like was sort of like a zero realization or like context for like what the conversation actually is, except that they're just really concerned about school and having good grades. And it's
Wow.
really important. Like if you ever need help studying, we could go to the library. I can make you some flashcards too.
I think that would be very helpful.
Great. Like we could go there right now. I just, there's always the next test coming up. There's always quiz. Like you make sure you're not late, because if you're late, you might lose points. You need the participation grade too. Even when you're really good at school, you still got to show up.
I've
And those
always
forum
been
posts,
told,
the stupid forum posts, I hate those.
I've
I
always
do
been
want-
told that extracurricular activities are the key to great admission applications. Is that correct here?
Well, I wouldn't know anything about that. I've just always been in school. I've always been in college. I've always been learning, about just everything, the science and the philosophy and the arts, the STEM. Do you know what STEM stands for? Science, technology, I don't know, like ethereal magic or something. I don't remember, but that's not important. Like, but if you
Why-
want to study with me,
What are you doing to stand out, though?
I study all the time in the library, and I eat apples. Like I take care of my physical health. Eat a lot of fruits. I
But-
like to walk around. This is a very heavy basket of apples. It's good to
So
keep.
many other students are doing the same thing, surely. So, what are you doing to stand out in your application of your learning?
Well, I don't really, like sort of like glitching out at what you're saying, because they've always been in college. The idea of like an application, like sort of they understand that conceptually, but they don't really remember ever filling out an application. They just have always been here. They've always been going to school.
Check in, like, on a technical matter, got still one more person to play the prisoner, correct?
Yeah.
So we'll try wrap it in so that we can maybe do that scene, moving on to there, and then we
Sure.
can have a wee break at the end of that.
Perfect.
Just
Great.
That's good.
The gardener comes and goes, I think that's enough conversation about education.
There's no.
I'd
I mean,
love
that's.
to take you up on that, though.
I
We
think
should
I
study
think we
together
should move
sometime.
on from the education. I think you still need to work there a little bit, student, on your asking of the questions and receiving of the answers. And they take 3 apples from you, almost as like looking at you like it's a punishment.
okay.
Yeah, like just sort of like head starts bowing, like, oh, I'm losing points for this for sure. My grades is going down.
So, shall we move on to the next? See more of this wonderful garden that we have here.
Why don't we?
But
Well, I'll see you later. I'll be in the library.
I'll see you then.
study more, and let's do the transition.
Yeah, so everyone's doing the one thing they haven't done before. So I believe that's David. You're introducing a scene.
I
Right.
am.
Yeah,
Ooh,
let's
yes.
go with it. Final location before we head back to the prisoner's home. That's where we'll end this whole thing is back at where it began.
So the path from what was kind of the view of the garden, but also became the garden, there's a path that leads down this rocky, craggy cliff top. It wanders down and round and follows the cliff, but also then kind of comes back into the back of the village, where the houses are, and would lead back into where the prisoner's house is. But this also drops at some point and goes into a beach, almost like a hidden cove kind of beach, that has this weird feeling about it. It's like you've left society, you've left one of the things. It's like where a pirate would come to bury their treasure. There's something almost fantastical about it. But there's quite clearly a path that goes down and quite clearly a path that goes up. But when you're on the beach, you can't see the paths. You can only see them if you're on the path. I think that's where they take where we go. We'll go with a hidden cove.
So prisoner, then this all in, taking that interaction I had with the feeling, that anxiety, that worry the student had, and just trying to sort of absorb it and just think about, like, okay, doesn't that, like, again, thinking that as I'm sort of trudging behind the current administrator, who's probably still pointing out various, look, the sea, like that sort of thing, I assume.
But
A shell.
Rock.
Yeah, so is there sorry, out of character. Why are we going here? Is that sort of like I'm leading?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So the,
It's
the,
just
the
like a loop
administrator-
of a circle.
New, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So basically at the start of the scene, you've led them into this cove, and at the end of the scene, we'll leave the cove and be back at the prisoner's home.
Okay.
And there'll be an NPC here that we will meet before that happens. And obviously, anyone can throw in any narrative details they want, even if it's not within your own sphere of influence. Let's just go with it.
Okay. Yeah, so this will be the last stop on our tour before we head back home. If we may. Still, we're still sort of curious why you're here. This is a good place to sort of just relax. It's just kind of fun vibes, sort of fantastical, if you will, and it's a good place to just sit and chat, if you know what I mean.
The prisoner looks around this vastly empty beach. We've just come from a place with lots of sitting, and then now well, I must be getting. I appreciate the time you've taken to show me. And we'll pick up the. Ooh, sorry, out of character. Ben, did you finish off the apple? No. Okay. I guess yeah. If the gardener is still sort of chatting
You now
away-
have to do
I was-
Goth Neil Gaiman with
No.
with-
I would if the gardener's sort of doing that sort of thing and is about to turn around and tell me like, oh, we're sitting down there, I would have surreptitiously removed it.
That was exactly what I was going to have as last thing within the previous scene, but we moved through it, so I wanted to give you the opportunity, so that works perfectly with
Perfectly,
what
yeah.
I was hoping.
I'll just
I was
like.
hoping for a bit of Marlon Brando.
Oh no! I couldn't possibly. But I would then surreptitiously like just like chuck it behind a convenient rock. It's like apple, in shape, like done. But I'll be like, well, I've got the rest of this to eat, and I'd pick up the pear that was also thrown at me. And I'm like, you know what? You gave the lady picking stuff up for that. You gave her an orange and I have a pear. Do these mean anything? Everyone seems to be mad about these apples.
It's good to eat the apples, but it's good to eat any fruit. It's healthy. Just and why don't we go sit over here? Like there's a nice little place over here, sort of point towards the cove, and why don't we sit and chat?
Cool. I guess we're wandering around this whole time. You've not eaten anything. Would you like to a bite?
Oh no, I'm all right. I ate this morning. I'm good.
I'll go and sit down with the gardener. Waits to. I flush out the long black cloak, the leather.
That is
cloak.
getting sand in it, and it is never coming out.
My big boots, crossover, immaculate, like done up, and I just sort of like, oh, and then out of the pocket, I bring out the sunglasses because Neil Gaiman always has sunglasses, and I put them on, and I'm like,
Are they the small circular
of
little?
course, yeah, absolutely.
We get
No.
an NPC to bring into the scene as well.
I was going to wait for a very specific moment within the conversation at the moment, but I have a thought for it.
Right. So the admin is going to take off his tweed jacket. Doesn't want to get sand on it, and sort of there's a little out bit of rock that the jacket can be hung on, and then like just kind of like sits down cross-leg style and invites invites the prisoner to do the same.
Oh,
Sort of like number them.
I'm good. Yeah.
No, I insist.
Well, agree to disagree.
Oh no, I would really like to, really have you sit down here and let's chat.
I'm perfectly willing to. I've been perfectly willing to chat this whole. And all you've done is point to random things and thrown fruit. This is not like, what is this, some sort of immersive experience of Fruit Ninja? What is going on here?
What is Fruit Ninja? I'm asking in character, I know, but
yeah, no. I'll take my pear and I'll throw it back at you.
yeah, you shouldn't do that. Just
You
don't do
freeze
that again.
Then answer. Like let's talk. What do you want?
I want you to sit down.
Well, I want to stand up. And I stand up. Like, stand everywhere.
I think as you stand up, there's like a crack from the ocean. Like the as you go against the gardener's words, the ocean crashes, and rather than it being like the crashing of a wave, it's like the breaking of wood. And sort of stumbling out of the surf, as if they've just been sort of launched there, is a sort of a younger sort of man, who looks wet, even though the sort of the water isn't touching them. It's almost like they've been thrown and are tumbling over the sand. Sorry. Didn't mean to disturb you. The boat flipped again.
And no sign of a boat or anything like
No.
No.
I thought it was sea got choppier. I'm 14. Who are you?
Well, 40. This is someone new. So the first day here. We're talking about the importance of apples. We're talking about the importance of knowing why we're all here. You know how that goes.
You should listen to them.
Are you hurt? I sort of go up and like maybe like try and see because I just stumbled out and there sort of like, you okay?
I'm fine. You should listen to them.
I've been listening to them all time. You don't seem fine.
I don't think you were listening to them, and they sort of like as rather than letting you touch them, I think they like move a hand to their shoulder, like clearly in pain, and they like look at you. I don't think you were listening to them.
So seeing that, I'll go to the rest of the apple that I have. Need this to keep the doctor away.
Probably not a bad idea, but I've had my apple for the day.
You really should finish the apple.
You really should
and
finish the apple.
Have a seat. And 40. Why don't you have a seat as well?
Of course. But I think that they're never looking at the gardener. They're always just looking at the prisoner. And just walks over and sits down, like exactly where they were told to. Got this image of you like patting the sand, but just going and sitting down the entire time. It's like they're refusing to see this thing.
So I go and sit in a similar spot. So if it's like a triangle, go to like one of the points of the triangle down. Here we are. That. Now what?
Well, our new friend is finding difficulty explaining why they're here. So maybe in order to help them, 42, you could 40, you could tell them why you're here. And
I'm here because this is where I'm meant to be. I'm here because I needed to learn and listen. What about you? Why are you here?
I presume that's to the
Yeah, again, refusing to acknowledge them with like looking at them, but definitely listening.
Well, I don't know why I'm here. I assume it's something to do with previous action. But
If you need to learn, you should talk to the student.
interesting, I've spoken to, and I don't think they actually know what they're learning. There's no end goal, there's no start goal, they're just in a perpetual state of anxiety.
If
and
you need to learn, you should speak to the student.
you know what?
I kind of feel like this is where the administrator might cut in and say, "No, enough of this. Let's get going. This fraternization happening here
Yeah,
in a
this is-
bad way."
yeah, let's 40, I think it's time for you to go.
Of course.
And I think our tour is over. Let's head back to your home.
Great. I hear there's a feast tonight. And as we get up to go and back to the rest of the apple bin hidden behind yet another rock. Not eating an apple.
So as we basically the path leads back to the home, but in the distance, just as you're approaching, you see there's some sort of you see some sort of, it looks like a handyman in overalls, just suddenly just too far to catch up with. They've just left your door and they're hurrying off, and the prisoner gets close and realizes the nameplate has been removed from their door and simply replaced with their number. What number shall we assign the prisoner? Any ideas?
1.
Yes, yes.
Okay, number 1. There we go. And on that note, we'll take a break for how long?
Well, we usually do
5,
10
minutes.
minutes.
I say, yeah, 10 minutes would take us to 10 o'clock.
That
Okay,
sounds good.
perfect. Okay, excellent.
Yeah. So everyone who's watching, go get yourself a drink. Go do whatever you need to do. We're going to do the same.
Mhm.
And we'll be back at 10 o'clock. We'll say we start UK time 10 o'clock. Whatever time it is in other parts of the world, work it out yourself. 10 minutes.
Okay.
And so we shall be out now. We're back. Way! We're all back. We're all prisoners.
Or are we?
We've all been prisoner. We've all been a man slightly obsessed with apples.
Can I admit something real quick?
Yeah.
This will probably be like semi-upsetting to Tanya. I had no idea what The Prisoner was, the show, and I just looked up the Wikipedia article for the first time on
Excellent.
break.
That's fine.
Like when I read this, I had sort of general ideas of psychological horror movies and stuff, but I've never watched The Prisoner or even knew what it was.
That's fine.
Watch it.
During playtesting, one of the sort of things is I played with whole groups that had never came across it, and in fact, one of them pretty much without like recreated the whole look and feel of the series without ever having seen it or knowing anything about it. Okay. Other groups, like the setting becomes quite Americana, that kind of oppressive feel to it. We've had techno dystopias, like very, very almost cyberpunky ones being played out, like all sorts of variants and differences. So, like seeing this sort of like, I almost feel like everything we've seen is like natural landscape and shadowed away, and there's a bleakness to it. Sort of like I've got that sort of like very. I'm imagining in film terms that sort of grey, dark film, almost like a grainy quality to everything.
Blue filters, all the blue filters.
I've got this.
I will say that I
vague
watched-
idea of like Miss Peregrine, or whatever. That kind of imagery in my head, almost the Victorian school and the port and that small village, and yeah.
When I read,
So I'm not a number. I'm a free man. You'll learn all about this. I don't like The Prisoner is an utterly genius piece of TV work that really should have lasted longer than it did. But
is it,
I like
is
the
it
fact that
available
it
for
doesn't
streaming
go
on like BBC or something?
It'll be somewhere on some platform.
you'll find it somewhere.
There is a remake though as well.
Yeah, don't watch the no.
watch the
The
original.
remake doesn't. Yeah,
It's different.
there is no remake.
What
There
were
is
you
no
going to
remake.
say before that, though, JT?
Oh, two things. When I read this originally, I would immediately what came to mind was the first half of season 2 of Mr. Robot.
Yes.
With like that
Yes.
was immediately because I feel like that show was directly made for me personally. Like, and then more recently, we sort of me and my partner ended up watching the first couple episodes of the original Twilight Zone like last week.
Yeah.
So like the first episode of Twilight Zone, same vibes.
100% love Twilight Zone. So when I was younger, so I'm really into that as a concept. Mr. Robot, I was less into, but I could see I could see if someone's into it, it would really work, like yourself, JT. I'd also point out that the chapter headings in BCU are the 6 essential episodes to watch, and the order that most people agree you should watch them in. It's the Magoon 6, which is there's a whole lot of, like with a series soul, there's a lot of like fan mythology and stuff about it. And
I will say I can't remember the name of the Welsh town that it was actually filmed in.
Portmeirion.
Portmeirion. Absolutely beautiful town. If you can get visiting it, it's not somewhere you'd want to spend more than a weekend, but is absolutely beautiful and stunning. And the Welsh coast is just But you won't get chased by big balloons. So
Hey, boy.
anyway, shall we continue on torturing Neil Gaiman?
Yeah,
I
that'd be-
suppose is the way to go.
Okay, so what happens is after that, so we've had sort of like the creating the prisoner and them being ripped from their home. We've had them arrive in the village and have this sort of like whistle-stop tour of locations and people. And so what we're going to move on to now are what are called the episodic phase. Okay, we're going to have episodes that are where each player will have one of the 4 roles, but rather than them switching scene to scene, you'll have it for the whole episode. The episode will be made up of 3 segments, a beginning, middle, and end, A, B, and C. And these have some prompts to help us on our way. And the overarching episode will have an episode prompt that will be picked at the start by the whoever's playing the administrator for the episode. Okay, so let's just think where we ended that. So I think we're right back down to where we
Beginning.
started. Yeah, so that's great. So our first administrator, what I would like, I'll read out the four prompts, and if you could pick one of these to be the prompt for the episode. This is sort of like, imagine you were looking up in a TV guide, okay, and
Yeah.
either the prompt for the episode is going to be the residents aid an attempt to win over the prisoner using persuasion, cajoling, or bribery. The second prompt is the prisoner hatches a plan to escape from the village and go back to their old life. Third prompt is the surreal or unusual methods of the village are employed in order to break the prisoner. And the fourth prompt is the prisoner attempts to directly undermine the administrator.
Can we go for number 3, please?
I had a feeling you might go for that.
Okay. So just to recap, the surreal or unusual methods of the village are employed in order to break the prisoner. So then, with the new administrator, this is a new episode, there will be a new administrator. The gardener is gone. Will not appear at all. Okay. The other NPCs and locations all in play. And the village can, at any time, if you have a look, there should be the prompting cards about what your roles entail. So the role of the administrator, I'll go over these for folks at home because they can't read them. When you pass this role at the start of an episode, you create a new administrator character. Just as before, give them a look and demeanor. The administrator has been charged by control with maintaining order in the village. They report to the always off-screen control, and we've gone over the overt goal before to learn why the prisoner resigned, and the covert goal of making them conform. Okay, and you've got 4 goals here, and during each segment of play of an episode, A, B, and C, you've got to try and achieve at least one of these goals, if not more. So the goals for the administrator are to learn all you can about why the prisoner resigned, prevent the prisoner from undermining your authority, push the prisoner into compromise, conformity, assimilation, and submission, or to return the prisoner to the village when they believe they have escaped. Okay, that's the administrator's part in this. Now, the prisoner we know all about also has some goals during these episodes. Okay, the prisoner, your goals are to investigate the residents and learn who the jailers and who are the prisoners. Okay, so there's the unsurety around that. Your second goal is to undermine the administrator by keeping the reasons for your resignation private. Your third goal is to find a way of getting into the presence of control with the aim of confronting it. And your fourth goal is to escape from the village, to have it exposed and abolished. Okay. Now, as well as that, we've got the 2 other roles of the village and the residents. So the village, you can still create these locations with something like an overt purpose and something uncanny about them. And your goals during the scene when you're narrating things or adding to narration or making suggestions, your first goal is to set the scene in new, exciting location and bring it to life with unique flavor and distinct look. Your second goal is to attempt to constrain the prisoner within the physical and psychological boundaries you set. Your third goal is to introduce supposedly useful or novel technology. And your fourth goal is to slowly turn the architecture and technology against everyone in the village. Okay. Final one is the residents. Pardon me. And for the residents, again, you can introduce these NPCs at any time. That's your first goal, is to introduce either an existing resident or create a new one who will further the plot. Second goal is to only ever refer to others by their title, their code name, or their number. You will never use proper names. Your third goal is to hint at each resident's private agenda, revealing them in a twist or to twist the plot in unexpected ways. And your fourth goal is watching, always watching. So any
We are
questions?
the Village Green Preservation Society.
So I guess I it's Village, I understand conceptually the third prompt about technology. Like, can you maybe give an example of what you've seen him play before? So I have
Yeah, let me just take a look at that third prompt. So the third one was introduce supposedly useful or novel technology. So you could make something that was like a useful, like a very real life one is like Google Maps. Google Maps is really useful, except when they change the terms and conditions so they can start tracking you in real time and using that to change billboards around you. Okay, that kind of, it's supposedly useful, it's supposedly novel, it's got some sort of, people want it, but then it maybe edges into that slowly turning against you.
I got one now. I got it. I got my first idea as media and immediately real life relevant. So
Smart motorways, so engaging, such a great way of improving efficiency and travel times until it's used to monitor every aspect of how you're traveling.
Yeah. So, with that in mind, we have like the whole sort of arcing of the episode. I'll open up. I'll give a sort of like brief overview for this first segment. Segment A. Okay, the person in the role of administrator introduces their new administrator character. They're still referred to by the title of the administrator or any other moniker they want to use. We don't, like, we had the gardener there. This is a new character with their own appearance and demeanor. The fate of any predecessor is never directly addressed, only alluded to. The administrator picks a prompt, which we've done, setting the initial stages of a plot or asking the other players to do so. So you can set up the plot now and sort of say, this is where we're opening up, or you can sort of open it up a bit and we can do a bit of like chatting about where things are. And that's just like a short, it could be just as short as a phrase or sentence to help guide play from this point on. And then everybody's open to introduce story elements that push the prisoner into having to make one of three types of action. Okay, so this segment A will end when the prisoner either does something in compliance, something in defiance, or attempts escape. Now, to attempt escape, you're going to need, there's some scores that we're going to be keeping track of as well. Okay, and these scores are the independence rating, the surveillance rating, and the level of control. And these are all at the moment down at level 0. You have no independence as yet, but no surveillance, and there's no control. And as these move, these will move based on which actions you're taking through these segments of play. You can attempt escape when your independence score is equal to or greater than the surveillance score. Okay. But we basically just role play, and then when anybody thinks one of those 3 states has been met by something the prisoner's done, even either the prisoner character or one of the rest of us, we say, "Oh no, you acting in compliance there," or "That seems like defiance," or "This is definitely an escape." That will shape the direction we're going to take the narrative. There'll be some prompts. We'll then talk about it, and then we'll take the narrative out in the direction it's headed. Okay, so let's get into play and see how it goes. So, Ben, you're our administrator. Can you what do you want to introduce administrator, or give a sort of quick brief plot that you have in mind? Like, what's going on here?
So I think the idea would be that without being aware of it, it appears that it is tomorrow. And that the prisoner, for all their intent of talking about there's a feast tonight and things like that, it is tomorrow morning. And that when they come downstairs, they are in their house, upstairs, in their bed again, there is someone waiting at the table for them.
Shall our administrator be introduced here, or
Yeah. So I think sitting at the table is a sort of a squat woman of sort of indeterminate years, but certainly older rather than younger. Just that sort of agelessness that certain people get as the severity that they have about them. They're dressed in a burgundy sort of suit top that sort of travels into sort of a pantsuit, something again of a similar color, and they're just they're sat there with one of those zip up folder style things that you get that sort of contain lots and lots and lots of like files or papers and stuff like that, and just on top of it they've got again a burgundy pen. Well, good morning.
Good morning to you too.
You slept late, so I thought I'd let myself in.
Does everyone have a key to everyone's house?
Who's everyone?
People who live here. Everyone.
I should hope I do.
Are
I'm
you
the
everyone?
landlady.
Fiona
Okay.
goes, nope. My landlady does not do that.
The prisoner moves over to the kitchen sink, confused and trying not to think too much about it. Goes over and puts the kettle. It's a proper old school stove, gas fire, heavy cast iron.
An Arga
kettle.
range.
It's not full on Arga.
Okay.
The kettle is like an old school cast iron kettle that has to be heated over the fire.
Mhm.
Fills it up, puts it on, sets it up, gets a teapot out, like proper full on English tea, measuring out everything else. So why would you let yourself in? And why is it morning when I have not had dinner yet?
Are you feeling quite all right? Of course I let myself in. It's time to sign the contracts. And they sort of unzip, put the pen perpendicular, exactly. Just open up the folder, just begin Ruth here. So we've got background check. We've got previous tenancy agreements, and we've got current tenancy agreement. Thought it prudent.
Guess at this point, maybe the administrator maybe says something like, "Oh yes, we also need to have a witness for the signing," and that could be a way to bring in either an existing NPC or an existing resident or someone new, or do that at some point. Maybe it's a
No,
suggestion.
with
and-
that, the prisoner will go, I think I need to have these looked over by someone. Is there somewhere where we can go where someone can look over these things with me? I don't like to just randomly sign bits of paper.
No?
No, I do feel like we should venture somewhere more in line with the import of these documents.
If you insist. Billable hours and all that, I suppose.
May I recommend the library? I have an idea.
Okay. Let's cut scene straight to the library. Let's get right to the action.
Smash cut.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah. So what are we in the midst of? I like to let's jump right into the middle of it. JT, you give us the scene. You're the location.
Perhaps Fiona could bring in a resident, but my idea here was that they're actually having the prisoner actually has many books on law that are actually real books on law, but they're from like all throughout history and from different places. So it's like, what's the point in researching, like tenant law from, over, let's say 100 years in 100 countries, but those books seem to exist now with actual real text, and the prisoners being encouraged to use them to study if they need to understand what they're signing.
It's just like a parallel to the prisoners' sort of like over helpfulness. It's like it's got too much information. It's got too much of it. It's like all the knowledge about all the tenancy law ever just streaming
If
out.
you could only find the one you need.
yeah.
And the one person who would be really good at learning how to
I
do
literally
this
was
would
thinking
be
of
the
that.
student.
Yeah. So I imagine, like, again, the prisoner and the landlady have probably just arrived or something like that, and you can see like a table, along those long ass tables full of books, and in between it you see the student with books open, transcribing like cards, but there's so many flashcards and so many books, and they sort of all go down at different sizes, but still writes stuff and then puts it to one side, and it's just like a bit of a mess. They're fervently writing notes.
Oh, I see you're studying.
Ah, yeah, yes, always studying.
What were you studying today?
Oh well, law stuff. Contracts, contractual things, land, residencies, council tax, bills.
You know what would be really useful for your studies is it's not just looking at the older, more general ideas, but maybe bringing it into a modern setting and seeing if you can understand how things. I've got a, if you don't mind, in terms to the lady, I see an opportunity for learning here. Would you mind?
Not at all.
Brilliant. I mean, there's a process, and if indicates to the prisoner to sit down, should they do that, they'd be given like their own stack of cards and books, and in between them it's an apple. And if you kick your feet underneath the desk a little bit, you can feel the basket.
As we sit down and I start to show the contract, as the prisoner starts to show the contract to the student, starts to ask subtle questions about so does this seem legitimate? Are these things correct? But as I'm doing it, tapping words within the contract, individual words in a pattern that as they go through is, should I sign this? Is this safe? But none of that is actually spoken. And it's all just like the intricacies of the conversation of law and things like that.
I want to ask both the village and the administrator, do you feel this is an act of defiance taking place here, or is this still, are we still in the grey area?
I can't, because they're not attempting to directly subvert. I think it's walking a line,
Okay.
and if it draws the student in against the student's design, i.e., to learn, then it becomes an act of defiance. Currently, it could become a compromise.
Okay.
Yep.
I just wanted to check in
I
what
also
the
had the same
temperature
question,
is.
so thank you.
At least that's my opinion. Obviously, there's the village yet.
Yeah.
No, that's fine.
Right. Okay, so let's keep it's tense. Let's see where it goes.
So you're tapping. Do you do it several times, prisoner? Like tapping the.
Yeah,
Do you
so
do it once?
Each word is like, as I ask you, it's like, so do these words make sense to you? Are these legal words? Tapping each word 3 times to make sure that you're seeing that it's a structure that I'm trying to look at.
I think there's a little bit of franticness as they are writing down stuff, like looking over, and then as they spot the pattern, there is an ever so slight, and maybe there's a moment where your eyes meet, and just whether it's a hand motion, whether it's something else, one of the stacks of flashcards falls all over everything, and and they start picking up the stuff. So contracts are, they're supposed to protect you, the rentee, and the landlord, landlady, and clearly quite flustered.
It is at this point that you're interrupted by a voice over the sort of like loudspeaker for the whole library that says something that's basically that, excuse me, there is we need a librarian over in the law section immediately, please. Some folks need help, or whatever, because the system has seen this little glitch in the student and flagged it as a or what's your technical term here? Sorry.
Defiance.
Defiance. That's what I'm going for. If that group's okay with that.
Okay, so do we feel like that the prisoner has strayed into defiance now? Is that what you're suggesting then? Or...
That is what I'm suggesting. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll read the sort of what this means mechanically for us in this next bit of narrative is like, when the prisoner makes an act of defiance, disobedience, or resistance against the forces set against them, but does not or cannot escape, take the following steps. First, we increase their independence score by 1.
Hooray!
We're off.
Take that, renting market's terrible just now.
Oh, yes. The group narrates the prisoner being thwarted, broken, or put back in their place in some way. We also
we've started that with the fact that more people are coming over to check.
I'll jump in with an NPC, sort of just like an unnumbered.
I also have
like
a really good potential suggestion for it.
Yeah, go.
The Doctor. Because one of the things within this is a peculiar or odd recurrent character which is introduced and will appear in every episode, and playing in with the one that we agreed on, which is the technology. I don't necessarily think the Doctor is an individual as such. I think it's some form of monstrous artifact or technology style thing that is a threat inherent. and that's why you have an apple every day, and it keeps the doctor away.
JT is here in the village at the moment. What is? Have you any thoughts on this? This technological doctor, the doctor. What are we?
Yeah, I'm so my idea was similar to that, in that the doctor was really just sort of Big Brother, but we don't really know what that means. My mind immediately went to some kind of like AI, but that isn't important to the narrative actually.
Okay.
And yeah, so the avatar of the doctor, or the person that represents the doctor in a specific scene, will change and be different.
Yeah.
It's just like the system sending something to fix a glitch in the matrix.
Could it be? I don't know. We've got a person, which I could NPC, or could it be like the helper bot in Moon?
Yeah, that's what I was
that
thinking.
comes along on a big rail, and it's got like a telly screen and tools and stuff.
Bad.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
That would be great.
And then
I was
yeah, go JT.
I want to take that because I did have another idea that was coming later, but this is a perfect time to introduce it. Is since Amazon just bought Roomba, a Roomba that just tracks the interior of everything forever, so it can map the whole world. So it's like a little Roomba with like a really cute voice. They're like, "Hi, I'm Lucy. I'm here to help. I'm the librarian," or something like that.
Yeah, maybe it's even several Roombas all sort of zoning in on it. And hi, and all of them say hi.
Hi,
I'm Lucy.
I'm a librarian. I'm here to help.
There's one at the end that sort of goes, "Hi, I'm Lucy." That's like it's still coming in, like shuffling.
Yeah.
in.
Help.
I just noticed as well that we've done this probably without thinking. The only thing to be given a proper name is the actual technology, not a person.
Yeah. I didn't even. Yeah.
Like, hi Alexa.
The only human name is for the non-human entity.
Okay, I love that as an element of sort of like surreality to this. Okay, so these Roombas have all came and they're coming in, and how does it thwart the prisoner at this point? How do we put them back in their place or break them?
I would think just sort of like a level of fear for sure. Clearly the student and the landlady have experienced Lucy before, and sort of just there's a visual and sort of like this sort of primal fear that is very evident to the prisoner when Lucy, the Roombas come around, and like, yeah, we.
Great. Okay.
I think the first way that the prisoner notices them is as the stack of cards come tumbling down, and the voice comes over the tannoy. Something brushes under the table against the prisoner's foot, and just looks down and just sees the Roomba and is like, used to seeing them because you've lived in the outside world. They're a thing. Is like doesn't pay any attention to it. As maybe you start the announcement finishes and the student and the old lady start to get a little bit flustered. There's another touch from the Roomba, and you look down and suddenly sees two. And it's a little bit perplexed. It's like, why would there be two Roombas? As the student slowly starts to back away with dread, fear.
I don't think back away. I think put their feet up onto the chair and like stand up off the floor.
Desperately trying to grab the remaining cards as they get sucked up. Now, no.
One of them doubles. One of them tumbles off the table, and you try to grab it, and you knock another couple off.
Yeah.
And the prisoner is just stood there looking really confused, and then turns around, and there's 7 or 8 Roombas going, "Hi, I'm Lucy."
But there's also the sound of it eating up various bits of paper that have been put in, and it's just like, "Hi, I'm," as it's just ripping things apart.
Yeah, I don't think it's like
that weird,
like hoovering. Almost... I think it's shredding.
1,000% shredding.
Yeah.
So with that as well, the control score goes up Okay, this is putting the prisoner in their place. The control score is going up. This means that we pick one of 3 elements to add into the narrative as well from a little list.
Oh.
Okay, so so with this, it's the prisoner gets to pick from these. Player of the prisoner. So either we're going to add in a peculiar or odd recurrent character who's introduced and will appear in every episode from here on out. A disturbing surreal or fantastical technology is turned against the prisoner, which kind of is happening. It's kind of, but we can use that or use one of the others. Or the prisoner angrily lashes out at those around them. So, prisoner, which are you going for?
Going to go for lashing out.
Mm.
And I'm going to lash out and kick a Roomba. Does it? Can it be the Roomba, or does it have to be someone? Because it said someone around me.
It just says prisoner angrily lashes out at those around them. I think in terms of the narrative, these Roombas definitely count as well.
Yeah. I've seen what Roombas can do to long black coats, and they're also being really, really quite weirdly menacing. I'm going to just lash out and kick one of them in kind of like a fear response of like almost like when you get an insect or something crawling up your leg and you don't like it. It's like, get off me, and just like kick it, lash out and kick it.
Does that mean using that narrative that you get stung?
The shredder kind of ruins the leather on my boot and cuts the bottom of my jacket.
You know, you really ought not to do that. They're usually much easier to deal with.
What are they?
I think maybe before we get into like pushing this further forward, maybe this sort of ends the segment of play. The segment A is done. There's been this attempt at defiance. There's been this push to go and be put in their place now. With the control at level 1, I just want to say that for the administrator from here on out, you're going to encourage the prisoner to encourage the prisoner to integrate, make friends, and politely ignore constraints to their freedom. Okay, from here on out. The residents will be mostly friendly, anxious, resigned people, obediently accepting the terrors at hand. And the village, the propaganda will come via media, social convention, and friendly policing. Okay, at this point. As control goes up, these sort of prompts may change. So we move into segment B, and so we all want to start to escalate the plan based upon how that defiance wrapped up. We're going to ramp up the mood, the thoughts, the feelings, the physical changes, and double down with any new measures. The forces aimed at the prisoner should be turned up to their maximum level at this point. Okay, we really want to make that plan, the whole technology of the village being turned on the prisoner, the seriality, go up to a maximum if we can. Okay, and we're all going, everyone who isn't we're all pushing for either compliance, defiance, or escape. Okay, this is where that's what from our positions in each of our roles, and that's what we want to try and drive towards. If that means like adding narrative to purposefully try and get at the prisoner or to get away from the village or what have you, like we can all introduce narrative, so use it don't be afraid to use it aggressively. Okay, we're playing it like we stole it. Okay,
got it.
So yeah, so are we in the same place? Are we carrying on? Is the next segment from there? Are we jump cutting somewhere?
I would say like maybe because we've got the feeling with the prisoner that they want to help people, and they've got this I can't remember what we called it.
Drive.
self-drive to kind of do things for other people, and they're seeing the reaction of the student, the prisoner would want to help get the student away and maybe get them out of the library, and maybe we deal with something out after we're out of the library, and maybe the prisoner has taken has saved the student from Lucy, the Rumbers.
Yeah. That sounds brilliant.
So
Nope.
if we're starting off where we're immediately where we left off, then with this segment is Lucy, who was previously using sort of like that relatively feminine like Siri voice or Alexa voice, is now like an extremely like robotic, demonic, like uncanny valley voice, but still like speaking in that sort of very humanistic. Hi, I'm Lucy. I'm here to help. But it's hi. I'm like I can't even do it because I.
Hi, I'm Lucy. I'm here to help.
Yeah, you're doing it with that little thing in your throat where you're just like glitching it a little bit like that. Yeah, beautiful.
Glottal.
Hi.
I'm Luke.
Oh, Captain did not like that.
Oops. Annoying the kitty.
Yeah, don't annoy the cat.
Oh, the prisoner, sorry, is taking out this.
Even if it's just like we burst out into the street at this point and the Roombas have been left at the door with this horrid sort of like horrible sort of
I think also maybe the sort of the as the door is shutting, you're just watching as like puffs of almost confetti strewn up books, which have been sort of like all like the flashcards are just like they'll be at that all day.
And even though you get out there, all the Lucys just stop at the threshold of the door. If the door's open, in theory, they could all leave, but they're not. They're just sitting there continuing to like yell at you in this demonic voice and not following past the threshold of the library door.
The student is sort of inconsolable. They managed to grab like maybe 3 flashlights. But they've more importantly they've grabbed their basket. And you look in the basket, it's like piled high with mostly all of them green apples, and you can see the student is just going back through them saying, "Rufi University. I think therefore I am." Just like random bits of information on the cards, just going them back and forth, reading them.
They put the student down and just ignore the old lady, look at the students in a gentle, calming kind of fashion, just put the hands on the shoulders and kind of get them to look at them and go, and we breathe, we are outside, we are safe, What is this truth?
There's an apple a day keeps the doctor away.
We are not talking to you at the moment. Can you not see this poor child is stressed? I want to help them.
They'll tell you themselves.
And there's a moment where, again, maybe you lock eyes again. Like this, like almost imperceptible shake of the head as the student goes and grabs an apple basket and starts eating. And slowly the panic starts to subside. They just crack into, and that crack, the bite again, reverberates around what would be like a silent area outside the library.
See? Universal truth.
I highly doubt that.
No?
No. I do not believe that you are helping people.
I just provide people a place to be.
On whose authority do you supply this?
The local council, of course. Everyone's part of something. I mean, I suppose in a larger scheme of things, I do so at the local housing authority. Really, you should get something signed. You know, these things are already going to take long enough, and with respect, whilst they're here, that's a perfect time for a witness.
I kind of feel like maybe at this point the landlady is like forcing the paperwork into your hand with the pen, almost sort of like here
I
you go.
think to the student first rather than the
Okay.
prisoner.
Yeah.
Witness.
What does the student sign?
The thing is, so I'm just imagining. I appreciate this is a very UK reference. I'm just imagining Pauline Penn from
Yep.
League of Gentlemen.
Yep.
This whole time, seeing the pen, student takes it, and then has to be guided by the landlady, and
Then here.
it's just a cross,
There we go.
shaking.
I am not stupid.
Good.
The witness has to witness me signing first, and I have signed nothing. I want to meet this council of yours. I feel like your land and housing points are not.
And
Fine. If you
this is defiance. I'm calling it
Yeah,
right
do it,
here.
do it, yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
very much so.
so you're not attempting to escape the situation. You're not complying with it. So we're in the same situation again. Independents will go up by 1. Okay, so you're up to 2 independents. You're really independent. We're going to.
I've got 2 things I'm really aiming for on the goals.
Okay, go for it. Go for it. Yeah. Like now we're just doing the same as before, breaking them, and then we'll up the control at any wherever it seems narratively appropriate.
Yeah. So I'm desperately looking at the students to see if they will maybe point out a little bit more beyond the scenes and maybe be on my side and point out who those jailers really are. Either that, or I'm going to go and try and. I'm guessing that the local council is where control might be. So I'm looking for that next level, which is why I'm defying the orders, because I want to go further up and find and confront these people.
BG,
So they're the kind of goals that I'm aiming for at the moment, but we'll see how that kind of plays out, I think.
Yeah, and JT, what's the sort of like next level of like oppressive technologies being employed to stop this sort of like freewheeling agent of chaos?
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me.
We've got a dog now. The dog has joined in. Like a robotic dog is, Lucy's turned into a wererumber.
I actually had ideas about that. Like, actually, that's okay. Yes. So, so yeah, there's a literally a robotic surveillance dog is going to be gifted to the prisoner, but it's like extremely well done and seems like a real dog. And whether the prisoner gets that it's a surveillance tool or not is up to the prisoner. I want to mute those so that we can keep going while he works.
I'm going to suggest like maybe like we've got this dog comes up and it looks like a German Shepherd, like an Alsatian, and like it's like here's a dog to help you, and then like as this sort of like you've got to sign, and there's this defiance going on. Maybe its head like opens and then opens, like really opens, and there's like either dart or two prongs of a taser or something happens that really like it really escalates from like nudging Roombas chasing you out the library to this aggressive like big dog like technology.
I think
Well,
rather than the
I'll let the group
prongs-
decide as to whether that prong hits the prisoner and what happens.
I think
to
it's
that.
rather than the prongs. It's again in line with that like Roomba technology. Just the back of the throat. Whilst it's got these teeth and fangs as it unhinges, the back of the throat is just one of those chewing, mincing things
Yeah.
that you feed meat into to make dog food almost like that. That like grinding, chewing that mass of spiked, like crushing things,
Yes.
and the landlady just
Catches-
takes the contract that you signed and just does that and just like as it's just like chewed inwards. Of course, a witness should sign afterwards, shouldn't they, student?
I signed. I did it. I did it. I
Yes.
passed the test. I passed
But
it.
you've been reading upon law, haven't you?
Yeah, I have.
So really, you should have known that in the
I-
first place,
I-
shouldn't you?
They. How do people? I'm gonna do the ask. I'm gonna do the ask. How do people feel about violence against oneself? What I would narrate is that the student would start hitting themselves, not blood or anything, but hitting themselves hard. How are people feeling about
Sort of like like a sort of like a PTSD reaction, sort of like a yeah.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. Being the person that
Yeah, I think
that?
I'm
Just like
comfortable.
idiot. Like
I will move up to the students, sternly looking at the old lady, going, "You are the one who ordered them to sign
I
before
asked.
I had." And I turn to the student and go, and try to calm them. It's not your fault. The situation is stressful. Do not worry. You are not at fault here.
oh, I'm
It is
not
not
at
your
fault.
fault.
I'm not at fault. On this, and now I'm in trouble.
I kind of feel like the pressure's now like you have to sign, like the
But don't worry.
grinding sound and
Yeah, just it's like again, it's like grinding, but I think the awful thing is, although it doesn't move, the dog heads back, the barking continues.
Yeah.
To almost if it's trying to make the grinding quieter than the bark, so that
Yeah.
it still seems like a normal dog, even though there's this like whirling more
don't worry, his bark is worse than his,
than his
bite.
bite.
But oh, the game's ended. Oh no, the stream's gone. Sorry, guys.
Oh, my finger slipped.
Oh.
for cinematic purposes, if this was a movie, all of a sudden all the voices of Lucy are starting to like add to this like increasing level of
Yeah,
noise and
yeah,
stress to the scene.
Yeah.
I don't wish to alarm you, but all of this would be much easier if you had a place that you could call your own. And
I
just gets
have
out another
a place that I call my own, and this is not it.
Stop it! Stop it! You have to stop it! I'm following the rules. I need you to follow the rules, because if you don't follow the rules, we'll both be in trouble.
Tanya?
I'm going to say, like, I think now's the time to pick one of these control prompts. Okay, David, are you going with a
Yep.
peculiar, odd, recurrent character introduced, or a disturbing, surreal, fantastical technology that will be turned against you? Like, bring something in here that's like this pressure cooker's built up around you.
I think we'll have a new character turn up.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's at the point where the student has become inconsolable. I'm unable to do anything with them, and I am quite clearly not paying any attention to the old lady. So I think some other character can kind of come into the scene, a peculiar character who
I've got a suggestion.
go for it.
Well, so suddenly you hear like the click, click of high heels turn, and you just a person in red, with the blazer, red lipstick, red nails, all prim and proper. And they are sort of coming forward with like another sort of maybe binder sort of thing. Oh dear, what is this noise? Landlady. I heard there's been some trouble here. Can I help at all?
I don't think so.
Oh,
I'm sure
Have it
it's
all in
all
hand.
fine.
oh. I just and looked. You're new here.
I'm here wherever here is.
Happy to. And I'm sure any of the people thought.
Could this new character like put their hand over the prisoner's hand with the pen and grip it in and force them to make a mark on the paper
Oh.
on the signature line? Like really just
Like sort of inhuman strength.
like yeah, or even just like it's sort of like it's almost like we're in a bit of a dream moment, like
I
a
think it's not
nightmarish
just
moment.
the mark. I think it's the number one.
Yeah.
I think it's because there's no name anymore. It's just one.
Mhm.
But I was
Three
I think-
lines. You know.
I was going to say, to make it even worse and weirder,
Mhm.
is the way that the one is traced. It would be exactly the way the prisoner would write the number one.
Mm.
It would be exactly their handwriting, and they don't have control over their hand.
Let me just sort of help, don't we all need it sometimes.
Oh man, so it's like the way I'm picturing this. It's amazing, David. Is like you've had this hand over the hand and like it's drawn the one perfectly, and then like it cuts to like your face in horror, and it cuts back, and the hand isn't there at all. Like the NPC's just back where they were at the side, as it like all of a sudden. Like
I think the landlady and the student as well are just looking down slightly, like just looking down.
Oh, I'm glad that. I hope you enjoy your new. Been noted.
going into part C here. Okay. So I'll read the prompt for this. This is going to be the last segment of the episode. Okay. So the players describe how the plot for this episode reaches a new fever pitch or breaking point. Okay. Things are going to break down around them. The prisoner should narrate either their increasing surety in themselves or their undoing. The other players should narrate actions, locations, and people that become wild and desperate. Okay, so we've taken it to its sort of maximum point just there at the end. What we're going to do is just have it push right out beyond. Okay, we're going to have everything break down. Like we thought we've escalated it as far as it can. We're going to take like 3 more steps. Okay. There should be ambiguity about whether the forces arrayed against the prisoner are helping or hindering their own goals at this point. Okay? Is the administrator actually achieving their goals, or is what they're doing to try and get there actually like sabotaging the big picture? Like, is this technology fulfilling the goals of the village, or is it breaking them down? That kind of thing. Are residents actually helping or hindering? And the prisoner is going to be pushed into one final act of either compliance, defiance, or escape. Okay. And then once that's been chosen, we work through the outcome, and that's the end of the episode. Bang. Okay. So I guess we want to think about the scene like we've just left. I feel like it's cutting to maybe somewhere new or the same location, or like maybe
back to the house.
Or yeah, like the village, maybe bring in locations and have us think about it.
Thinking we move somewhere new. Maybe the lady in red takes us, because we've now signed the document. The lady in red leads us to somewhere to file the documents, because the library is a little bit weird now.
It's closed for lunch.
It's closed for lunch, so
What are we thinking, JT?
You said push it, and I'm trying to push it, but I never know like if I'm gonna push it too far because I could do some wild shit. Okay, yeah. So this all happens sort of in the same sort of like moment. The person in red sort of like blinks back over to a few feet away, and some glitches. I'm going on Matrix 5, but not exactly that. is there's sort of like some failing in what would be I can't even think of it, the Star Trek room where you can make whatever happen.
Holodeck.
Holodeck.
Holodeck, and there's just like a person that looks like a doctor sitting at a table and be like, no, that's wrong. You're still supposed to be in, and then you sort of like click back and like you're waking up in bed. I don't know. Trying to be weird.
Yeah. It all goes a bit weird, glitchy, and we're back in it's almost like the morning again, is it? Or
Yeah, back to the start.
Coming down the stairs. In fact, it could be we could just rerun the whole beginning of the episode.
Let's do that,
Yeah.
Like
Westworld.
Yeah, it is Westworld. That's where we've gone with this, really, isn't it?
Yeah, no,
Good morning.
Who
You're
is
up
down
late.
there now? Is it still are you still the old lady? Are we still the landlord?
yeah,
I
and
think
lady.
I think it's the landlady, but they look nothing like
yeah,
what they
Westworld
did.
is- Yeah.
Yeah.
They've been completely replaced by someone else.
But the dialogue's exactly the same.
Yeah.
The movements
They're in
exactly
exactly the same clothing, doing
Maybe
the same thing.
it's
on the
more like
page.
someone with a beard, perhaps rumpled suit, similar sort of vibe, but different.
And oddly, the prisoner goes through exactly the same motions.
Mm.
Goes down, turns on the oven, puts on the kettle, makes the tea, and only slowly, as they're pouring the cup of tea, do they realize they've done this before.
What
And
about
Jeff-
instead of the tea is when the kettle's whistling? That
Yeah,
like beaver pitch of that whistle.
yeah. I turn round and look at the landlord.
Something wrong?
I've signed.
I know.
Why are you here?
Well, I thought it prudent that we, just do a final tour.
I feel like there's
walkthrough.
a place that I wanted to see.
Yeah, the attic.
Of this building?
Yeah, I thought I'd bring you over the keys to the attic for you in the basement. Well, you signed, so here are your keys. They're yours now, after all. You're the tenant.
I want to ask the group is so be outside of me and Ben playing these characters. I want to ask the rest of the group: is there anything weird or special about the keys that might not look might relate to the house, might not look like they should belong to the house? Is there something a little bit odd about them, or are they just literally keys to the house?
They are gigantic, like Harry Potter going into a dungeon type of key, like a huge fantasy key that just doesn't make sense for the rest of the setting.
Okay, cool.
I think the other thing would be the room itself looks fine. There is now a little plaque that says
And there is a Roomba. I wanted to grab that earlier. There's a Roomba, but it's not talking. It's just literally a Roomba, just a normal
Plugged in
Roomba.
the corner.
yeah, charging up.
Yeah.
I thought it just as a kindness, I brought over your Lucy for you.
Hmm.
Keep the house clean.
Just leave the keys with the apples. As there suddenly appears on the table a bowl of shiny, green, polished apples.
Oh, of course. An apple a day keeps the doctor away.
Compliance. You take the
Yeah.
keys.
Yeah.
I'm calling it.
Done.
Yep.
So,
Which
when the-
means I hit my goal as well, which is to push the prisoners to compromise, conform, assimilate, and submit.
So the prisoner takes an action to submit. We've done that. Increase control by 1. So we do that right now. So control is going up to level 2 from here on out. What this means is that when we're thinking about the prison, we're talking about the administrator. The prisoner will be treated with contempt or pettiness from here on out, for sure, as a minimum. The residents will display wariness, distrust, and occasionally have emotional outbursts towards the prisoner. And the village, the sort of enforcement vans, CCTV cameras, and patrols authorized to use physical violence breathe down your neck now. So the sort of the tensions have amplified. Now, as a group, we increase independence by 1 again. Oh no, I'm not looking at the right one. Yeah. Oh yeah. So independence is going up, and surveillance goes down because you're acting in compliance. So at this point, we want to just wrap everything up from this point and wrap the episode. So I'll let you carry on without my interruption.
And don't worry, the real benefit about Lucy is that they're always there to help. Even when you might not think you need it, they're there.
Thank you very much. Anyway,
Of course, don't worry. I'll let myself
it's
out.
time for me to get acquainted with the house. I think you have a job that you need to do elsewhere. Please don't let me keep you.
Don't worry, you won't. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
We have a third prompt being added of the disturbing, surreal, fantastical technology, but I think that's
That's
covered
what-
by
yeah.
the whole episode.
Well, that's what I was going for with the Lucy in the house, actually,
Yeah.
specifically with the being
Yeah.
a Lucy there on hand at all times now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the end of the first episode. I'm feeling energy levels are quite low. Yeah.
I think
I think it's a. Have you finished episode 1? I think there's, especially with the fact that we had to do the setup, so we did 2 episodes here.
Mhm.
It might be a really good idea to make this a multi-part
I
thing,
would
because
love
this
to.
is same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would love to as well. This
It's-
has
yeah.
been an absolute trip.
Yeah.
It's
Oh.
absolutely
One of my
brilliant.
favorite things I've done so far, and all of a sudden I've never played a diceless game before.
Mhm.
Like I've played very heavily story games with dice, but like just realizing my mind is in a billion directions on like ideas now of like, oh, you don't even need dice to do this. This is just fun. You can just tell stories. This is amazing.
It's a
Yeah. So
beautiful way to tell story system. Yeah, loving it.
thank you. Would it be okay if I plug my current Kickstarter before?
I
we
was
Of
going to
course.
say
Do it.
we'll end up now and we'll go through everybody, but we'll start with you yourself, Tanya,
Thank you.
because you have done an absolutely brilliant job at running your own game.
Amazing.
Hey.
And, obviously, we have 2 links, and we'll let you talk about the things in this game and the new
Yeah,
things.
yeah. So this game is my sort of existing baby BCMU that we've been playing. So I don't really have to talk much on that. But currently running a Kickstarter for a game called Lo Thy Dread Empire. You have to do this when you say it. It's official. It's basically a grimdark fusion between a narrative war game and a tactical role-play game. It sort of straddles the line between the sort of two. The sort of background is that it's the grimdark aspect is it's a far it's sort of the future. The death cults of capitalism have decimated the world and ground everything to dust and leaving only like strange towers to the edifice dotted across the landscape of ruins and acid rain destroyed trees and sickly sky with horrible light coming through it and everything, and that sort of grim dark over the topness of it all. And it's usually at this point it'd be like they think they've killed off all their opposition, but they were wrong. But in this case, they think they've killed off their opposition, and they were right. And they've done it to the point where reality itself starts to break down, and the undead rise up to face them. That the final struggle is being fought by a conglomeration of like skeletal syndicalist unions that are forming in the crypts and plotting how to strike against the machinery of capital. You've got the Mujeres Zombista, who are the free zombies who have wrested control from these necromancers of their own bodies, gaining autonomy through collective animation. And you've got like all these different factions. You've got the factions of capitalism as well, and it's sort of like got a war game aspect in the sense that it's telling these big sweeping battle narratives, and it uses the sort of like the premise of a war game with very story game mechanics. So it's another diceless game. It uses sort of a token mechanism. Have a wee read over the Kickstarter and see if it's something that sort of appeals. It's doing very well. The Kickstarter blew through in the first day a whole bunch of stretch goals, and it's up at about 7K at the moment. I don't know. Let's take a look.
Ooh, live.
£7,593.
Yay! And you got hardback as a.
I've got a hardback.
Today, didn't you?
It's for Zine Quest, but I'm just taking a look myself now. It is now, because I've managed to get to such a high funding point. You can get it in a hardback option. There's some nice play, like PCU has all these lovely play pieces with it, and I've done the same for Lo Thy Dread Empire. And if you have a read over the Kickstarter page, there's also a link to a free demo version of the game, what I'm calling the bare bones demo, that you can actually just take that and get a taste of the game, how it's going to run. It doesn't have a lot of the extra stuff that will come later. It's just like a really focused version for you to give it a try at home. But yeah, the next goal is like you can, if the next goal unlocks, you can actually pledge for a level where you can work with me to create a special character to insert into the game, and it will be in the book. But
Very
yeah,
cool.
yeah, take a look. It's brilliant. I think it's brilliant. I think
What I think what will have to happen there is when we inevitably reach those high stretch goals, I might have to pitch you the truly spectacular character, which is Mad Max meets Julia Childs.
Getting flashbacks.
All I'll say is you've just received another back. So someone that me and JT have known through other playing, Ben who's in the chat has just backed it from this.
Oh,
So.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Ben. The other Ben, not this Ben.
Not me.
Yeah.
Not live stream Ben, but Ben in
No.
chat Ben.
I've already
Well,
backed
that Ben is
Ben's
also
already
live stream
backed
Ben.
it, yeah.
We've already backed it all here. So
I
yeah,
backed
so,
it when I saw the artwork, because the artwork is stunning.
the
and
artwork is
gratifying.
very reminiscent of late, like kind of mid-90s
Blanche.
grim dark 40k.
It's full
That
on.
washed out John Blanche kind of artwork. It's
Mhm.
absolutely beautiful.
I'm
Watching this on YouTube, the link will be in the descriptions to the Twitch, whatever it is, the tribes
Sure.
of the time of tribes.itch.io
Yeah.
for this game, and for the Kickstarter if it's still running when you watch it. If you're watching it on Twitch, as Big Ben is, you can do it there. So we will share this all around for you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to coming back and making this a two-parter, because it's going. I'm really enjoying where it's going.
We may get you back as well and get you to run the new game as well.
Yeah, defo.
Cool. So as we've done that, let's go around everybody else. Who wants to go first? Who is everybody else? Who wants to volunteer? If not, I'll pick someone.
Sure. I'm JT. I'm on Twitter at Zensomancer. I have nothing to announce. Oh no, actually I do.
No, I was gonna say that's a lie.
Sorry.
You do have something to announce.
Tonight at 8:30 Eastern, So 5 hours earlier for British folks. I think so. What would that be? That would be like 12:30 a.m. Yeah. Anyway.
Sometime
3:30
tonight.
AM-ish,
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, playing a one shot of Vampire 5th Edition on the Vorpal Tales channel. We are currently coming up the end of our end of the first week of our 2-week charity stream event for Love Your Rebellion, which is a nonprofit art collective that supports a lot of queer artists in various ways. And one of our members is a board member of Love Your Rebellion. So yeah, check out Vorpal Tales on Twitch tonight at 8:30 Eastern.
Yeah, and there's a lot of very good people who are playing in that game. And Rosie, who was here before in one of the games, is running that game for you. So yeah, go check that out. It's a very good cause with some amazing people. Definitely.
Rosie ran Vampire 5th Edition Thursday night that I was also in. It was different ST,
Okay.
but yes.
My Twitter stream is like,
yeah, I see we have 2 vampire games 3 days apart.
Yeah. Yes. Ben is reminding me in the chat that yes, that Rosie did the other game. Thank you, Ben. And so now that was JT, let's actually go to the live
stream, Ben.
Live stream, Ben. The Ben in person.
Hello, I'm Ben. You can find me at most places under Watch Aitken or Polyhedral Himbo. And I do freelance writing and other fun stuff. And I've got some stuff that I'm not allowed to talk about yet, but is happening. So watch this space in December. I will be starting to talk about something a lot and stuff like that. And then coming up really soon for Drunken Storyteller, I will be running a game. A campaign of I think we can probably reveal it now, can't we, David?
I think we can talk about it now.
Yeah, so I will be running a game of Spelljammer that is affectionately in our back room being called Queers in Space. So pop by for fantastic queer Spelljammer. And just just as a big thing out there to anyone who thinks that Spelljammer is not for people. We're gonna make it as outrageously queer, outrageously trans friendly. Every version of the D&D that you think that you've been holding on to, I promise you, we will be destroying systematically in front of you, because D&D and all RPGs for everyone. So that's just for all those people out there that think that Spelljammer especially is just for them.
It's not, it's for everyone. All games are for everyone.
All games, all the time, for everyone.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. We have a release date now for Spelljammer. We've had this kind of in the background for some time.
Yep.
It's going to be fabulous. Sparkles, I think, is going to happen.
So many sparkles.
I may even start doing my makeup again, because it hopefully would have cooled down and just not melt off my face the instant I put it on. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Fiona.
Hello, everyone. So when I'm not being random creepy people in the village, you can find me on 2 podcasts. I run the What Am I Rolling podcast, twice monthly RPG podcast. And as always, it's going very, very well. No episode yet for tomorrow, but there will be by tomorrow. Editing. Who needs it? I do. Anyway, but we also do interviews with game designers. We've done quite a lot with Free League, who've done quite well recently. They just announced something at Gen Con, a new thing, but I don't know exactly what it is.
Have you not seen what it is?
I've seen it. It's by the same illustrator that did Vasan. Or Vasan.
They are re-releasing. It's the first ever RPG that was released in Sweden.
That was it. Yeah.
In England, it's called Dragonbane.
Yes.
can't remember what it's called in Swedish, but it's like one of the most successful RPGs in Sweden.
Very
Johan has
influential
done
as
the
well.
art for it, and it looks
It looks
phenomenal.
great. I'd recommend checking out
Absolutely.
the big blog they did about it.
Mm.
So yeah, but we've done interviews with some of the game designers from them, and the other podcasts I do. So these folks are talking about Dungeons and Dragons. They're like, oh yeah, Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm like, yeah. I have a weekly book club podcast called DM's Book Club, where we take some of the D&D lore, but then talk about it and see how we would change it and implement it in our own role-playing games that don't have to be Dungeons and Dragons. It's like a general sort of thing that this is a very cool idea. How can we make it better? That sort of thing. That's the What Am I Rolling podcast and the DM's Book Club, where you could find wherever you listen to podcasts. And I just want to say a massive thank you to Tanya again. What an amazing game. Really fun.
I was just going to say thank you so much for having me on and for inviting me for a second go round with this. I'm having so much fun. Really am.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
We're all about the fun and the weirdness over here. So
Yup.
Take us out, David.
Yeah.
What do you do?
what do I do? Sweat a lot at the moment, I think, is the answer to that one. So yeah, I technically host this this stream, but due to internet reasons, duties are being passed around at the moment. So we are going to offer a massive thank you to Fiona for doing the tech today. Thank you very much. But yeah, this is my stream where we come up every now and then and do RPGs. Tomorrow we have a session 0 for a game. I was meant to ask Fiona about this, whether you're actually going to be there or not. I'm going to guess
probably no. I'm not going to be there. Spoiler, no.
Spoiler, no. I didn't think you would, but I couldn't remember whether it actually confirmed it or not. So, but yeah, so we have a session 0 tomorrow. It probably won't be streamed, but will be up on the YouTube. We are starting a mini Spire campaign. Spire, the game written by Grant Howitt about dark elves and politics in an old city where the high elves are a bit assholes, I think. Is the easy way to say it.
That's the clinical term.
Yep.
Yeah, they're assholes. And so we are.
I feel like this channel has a political bent. Now, having been here a few times.
Now, Shadow of Mog was a one-off, I think. Usually it's Alien.
Yeah. So we Tom Muir, the fabulous bodiless voice in the void, will be running Spire for us. We have our session 0 tomorrow, where I will be playing a character for once. We have Vivian coming back, and Fiona will be joining in the actual campaign,
at some point,
though not session 0. So she gets whatever we give her. And we have a new member joining, Kay, or Unseelie, or from Twitter. So really looking forward to that. Obviously, we have Ben coming up soon with our Spelljammer. We will also soon be running some Thirsty Sword Lesbians. If anybody has been paying attention to the Ennies, it did quite well at the Ennies. So we will be bringing that on. We've been trying to get this game for a while, so that will be happening soon as well. And there'll be other things happening along the way at some point. Other than this channel, I do a folklore podcast occasionally. Now at the moment, it seems to be a bit and start, which Fiona has been on a few times, where we've done some RPG related Celtic festival stuff. And the last episode I talked about people throwing beehives at each other, so that was quite fun. And that is where the name comes from, the Drunken Storyteller. So I think that is that. I don't think I have anything else to talk about, other than that we will be back at some point soon with Tanya to finish off and find out what these apples really are. How about them apples?
Hey, keep the doctor away.
Yes.
Right.
So
Let's all wave awkwardly as I turn off the stream.
bye.
Bye.